me. I do not care if you have questions. Yell at me to stop. So I will go into this mode. Oh, I can't see you all. Great. That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Anna. Yell at me to stop. So I will go into. Did y'all hear that? It's looping. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Full disclosure, I am Anna's favorite cousin. So that is how I am on this today. But outside of that, if you saw the promotional materials and I'm holding a sneaker and it is my high school senior photo that I'm also holding, I'm sitting, I'm surrounded by a bunch of shoes. So I'll tell you who the heck I am and why that relates and why I have a ton of sneakers. It's because when I was 13 years old, I'm going to date myself. I actually turned 40 in 27 days, but I'm not counting down by any means. But I was 13 years old. I'm on the internet. I'm on dial up AOL. I'm in like an instant message, like chat room, right? And this gentleman in this room was talking about a pair of Air Jordan samples that he had acquired at a sample sale. And if you don't know a whole lot about sneakers, just like anything, big companies have sales reps. They go out, they show samples of what's coming out. So a Nike rep would go to like all the sneaker stores and show like, hey, here's the next Air Jordan coming out next year, or the best running shoe that we've got. And a lot of these reps could care less about the sneakers after they were done. And samples come in men's size 9. So unless you wear size 9, you're out of luck. So a lot of reps, what they would do is they would have these sample sales, and it's basically like a garage sale full of like these rare shoes that are coming out next year. And if you could get your hands on a pair of samples back in the day, and still even today, you could sell those for a lot of money. So this guy, mind you, I'm 13 years old, talking to a random stranger who lives in Florida, which isn't weird by any means. But he said, hey, I've got a pair of Jordan samples that I got this morning. I'll sell them to you for $250. So I run downstairs. I'm like, Dad, you got to let me borrow $250. And he's like, son, what in the world do you need $250 for? And I said, well, I need to buy a pair of shoes. And he's like, there's no way you're paying $250 for a pair of shoes. So I explained, I was like, I really think I can resell them, on the internet, make some money. And he said, okay, so I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to loan you the $250, but you have to pay me back no matter what. This guy scams you, ripped you off, etc. So I'll spare you all the details, but it included dial-up internet. It included taking photos of the shoes with a Kodak disposable camera. Then I went to CVS, and I think they still have them, but I scanned the actual photo, scanned them onto a 3.5-inch floppy disk, which you don't remember what those are, right? A piece of plastic that held like 2 or 3 photos. So then I go home, I put that into our gateway computer, dial up, dial up the internet, and I post the shoes for sale. Within 30 minutes, I had a gentleman that was he owned a store downtown Hiroshima, Japan, and he offered me $750 for the shoes. And everything checked out. He mailed me $750. I mailed him the shoes, and I went to my dad and I was like, Dad, you won't believe what happened. And my dad had one question. He said, how many more of those can you get? So I was hooked. So that was my entrepreneurship, just like little taste. I was hooked. I then networked and found a guy that worked at Nike. So I went on to build a website, was selling 10 pairs a month. I was buying them for $100, selling them for $1,800, $1,500. So from a young age, I've been an entrepreneur. Went to ECU, graduated a marketing degree, got an MBA, and then decided to start my own marketing agency. Did that for a long time, and then climbed the corporate ladder. Actually worked for a home builder, worked in the sneaker industry for a little bit. And then today, I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm a co-founder of Creative Outdoor Solutions. We provide hurricane shutters and retractable awnings. Ultimately, we provide peace of mind. So a great strategic connection for me includes real estate agents. Half the reason why I said yes to Anna is you all are agents, property managers, and construction or project managers. Now, you don't know it yet, but I just showed you all a little bit of my tight ask. So let me explain. And that is ASK, right? You cannot do squats to get a tight ask. You cannot wear high heels all day and get a tight ask. And you cannot And I know that abs are made in the kitchen, but an ask is not made in the kitchen, right? So there are a couple things that make a really tight ask. So there's three parts, and I'm talking about your elevator pitch. So when you're out there, going networking, and I know I've done this talk for years, and COVID has kind of changed the game a little bit, but I feel like we're getting back to a bit of a normal society where we're going to networking events again, we're socializing, we're doing things. So it still does pertain. And heck, you're kind of at one now. So there's three parts to the speech, and it is who you are. So, and I know some of this is going to be elementary and very rudimentary, but it is very efficient if it is done well. So I would keep who you are, keep it short, keep it simple. And if you break down mine, what I said earlier, I'm a co-founder of Creative Outdoor Solutions. Super simple. So challenge you to think about who you are and then what you do. This is where people, you've all probably been there. This is where people go off on a tangent, right? You're sitting there and you're listening to somebody tell you for 20 minutes every single piece of history of their business, their 100 different ways they can help you, all the things. And if you've not been in that situation, maybe you are that person. So maybe it's just some self-reflection, right? Look yourself in the mirror and be like, am I that person? Am I talking 20 minutes about everything that I do? Because honestly, and I'm sure you've been in this situation, you don't really care. I mean, you do, but you don't, right? If you're there to strategically work a room, you do not need to get stuck into a 20-minute conversation with somebody, nor do you need to be that person. So if you break down mine, you'll notice I did say hurricane shutters and retractable awnings. So that is what we do, but that is just two pieces of what we do. We do so much more than that, but those are what get people in the door. And those are like, okay, people either want protection for their house or they want shade on their back porch. And those are the two things where people go, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Like, I get it. You can also plug and play what you do. So I switch it up for the seasonality. So obviously we're right in the middle of hurricane season, but October through March, if I'm out networking, I switch it up. I say, we are a one-stop shop for servicing and cleaning hurricane shutters. You can also switch it up based on who's in the room. And you can just keep playing with it until you figure out like what works and what doesn't. So it's kind of up to you to mess with it, to play around with it, plug and play a little bit to figure out, okay, like this one worked. And then that one kind of fell a little flat. Now, this is the most important piece and the most critical. This is the ask, and it is who you need to meet. A lot of people absolutely get this wrong, in my humble opinion, because they are out networking for a client or customer.
Can I get some ketchup and salt? Right. Yeah.
So,
thank you.
So when you're out networking, the chances that somebody is, 99.9% of your real estate agent. So I'll go down that road. So the chances that somebody is already pre-qualified, ready to write a check, looking for a house, ready to move right this instant is very rare, right? So instead of looking for a customer or a client, I'm of the impression you go look for strategic connections, right? These are people that are in front of your customers or clients, right? So if you remember, I mentioned real estate agents, property managers, construction project managers, because these are 1 degree away from the people that I want to be in front of. So it's much easier for me to go meet a handful of real estate agents who are in front of everybody that I want to be in front of than it is for me to find the person who's at a networking event who happens to be looking for hurricane shutters. So a strategic connection, like I said, is somebody who's 1 degree away. They're already in front of your clients. They're naturally already working with them. So again, for me, I go down the road of, okay, well, who's in front of homeowners, agents, and also lenders, construction managers, if they're building a house for somebody. So you get the idea, right? So you're out there looking. I would think for you all, lenders are great, right? So if somebody's already like kind of pre-qualifying somebody, And I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't know, but chances are somebody, if you're networking and you go, oh, I need to, you meet somebody and say, I'm really looking for a lender. And somebody goes, oh, you know what? Sarah's a lender. I know Sarah. Let me introduce you to Sarah. And then you kind of start to see how that magic starts to work. So if you do the math and let's take real estate agents, for example, there's like 30 of you in here. So if all of you are working at least with 3 people, I am now in front of 90 potential people. So you start to see how like the power of just 1 degree away, and then it starts to like a little family tree, right? Like it just kind of keeps having branches and branches and branches. And you start to build that strong referral network of people who are in front of your clients all the time. Now, this one's huge. This, again, is where I feel like a lot of people go to networking events and they leave and they go, well, that wasn't really worth my time. I didn't meet anybody. And I don't really have any intros to anybody. So no one will connect you to everyone. So what that means is when someone says, well, who are you looking to meet? Or who do you work with? Or who would you sell a house to? And you answer everyone. Yes, everyone needs a home. I get that. Everyone should buy a house at one point in time in their life. But if you say everyone, no one comes to mind for me. So I'll use Anna as an example. If I met Anna at a networking event and I said, Anna, who do you want to meet? And she goes, well, I just want to meet everybody. Well, I have nobody I don't know. I don't know who everyone is. Like nobody pops into my mind. So I'll use an example. He's not as relevant anymore, but Jay Leno, if you remember the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Jay is a huge car enthusiast. He has an amazing car collection. He has hundreds of cars. So if you bumped into Jay on the street and you said, Jay, what is your favorite car in your collection? And he said, man, I don't know, man. Like I like them all. Like I love all of them. Right. So in your mind, what car came to your mind? Probably nothing super specific because you can't really picture a ton of different cars at one time. But if you would ask Jay, what's your favorite car in your collection? And he answered you, I got to tell you, man, my red Ferrari is by far my favorite car. Now, even if you're not into cars, you can probably picture at least what a red Ferrari somewhat looks like, or it's a sports car, it's expensive, and that it's fast, right? So same goes for networking. You have to be specific. If you say we work, and I'm going to use this, like I used to have a marketing agency, so I'll kind of use that as an example. If somebody were to ask me and I said, well, I love working with small businesses. Well, that's too broad. Yes, small businesses is decently specific, but what's a small business? Some people think John's Pizza Shop is a small business. Some people think Red Hat in downtown Raleigh is a small business. So, is that 1 employee? Is that 20 employees? So you have to be extremely specific when it comes to networking. So if you put all of those pieces together, understand who you are, what you do, and who are you strategically looking to meet, you will continue to see a network that becomes more powerful, sends you leads, and you will start to see the fruits of your labor, over and over and over again. And I call really good strategic connections, I call them like golden geese, right? So that's like golden geese lay good eggs. You find those really solid people, they're going to continually send you leads and referrals. And it's a two-way street, right? So I didn't put this in the presentation, but it kind of is coming to me as I'm talking about it. There's this whole thought process of giver's gain. So you're giving first to gain later, but you're not necessarily doing it in hopes to gain later. I mean, I think hopefully, like we all want everyone to succeed. Like I would love for you all to leave this afternoon's conference and go, man, like, yeah, we've got the tools, we've got everything, like, let's go crush it. And so I think we all root for each other. So just naturally being a good human being and helping others by, like if Anna's looking for a real estate agent or a lender, like, hey, I do know Sarah. Let me introduce you to Anna. She's an awesome agent and you're an awesome lender. Let's connect the dots so that you guys can hopefully work together. So I do want to introduce you to my 2 friends, Bob and Tom. So this stands for best of breed and top of mind. So when you do find those like quality people that you work well with. You guys are both like in the same lane. You're sending leads, they're sending leads. I call those best of breed. You want to hang on to those people. You also want to stay top of mind with those people. So just like a friendship, it takes work, it takes effort. You have to remind people that you still exist, that you still have a pulse, that you guys are still friends, you guys are still strategic connections. And so that's, hey, just checking in or just staying top of mind, email marketing. I'm sure you all know to stay up on social and all the things, LinkedIn, but just pushing out content, even sending a quick text like, hey, how's it going this week? Like, how's your week going? Like any good leads for you? Anything I can help you with? Anybody I can help you introduce or, any struggles you're facing that I might be able to help you with? So staying top of mind with the best of breed, again, it will continue to pay dividends over and over again. And finally, when you do find those best of breeds, the easiest thing to do to stay top of mind is you build what I call like a power circle. So this is a weekly or bi-weekly get together, again, because she's the only one I know in the room, but Anna does this very well. Like I've even gone to some of her weekly just like networking events where there's 12 other agents, even people that compete with her, right? Like that are there just learning, working together, trying to build their business. She brings in a speaker to do like a 15-minute, presentation at the end about, certain like home loans that you can do or questions that people, have. But if you could find 10 to 12 people, and I would ideally look, if you're out there looking for like, okay, who are 10 or 12 people that all do different things that complement my business, that could send leads and we can all pass leads around. If you even twice a month got together at a spot and the first 30 minutes is literally everybody going around and saying, hey, Mark, yeah, I actually bumped into a guy. I did give him your contact information, but if he hasn't reached out, here's his contact information. He was looking for a $500,000 house. He's already pre-qualified, needs an agent. I sent him your way, right? So you're just helping each other out and going around the room and building each other's networks. And I think, like I said, I do a lot of marketing, had an agency, and for me, the biggest advice I can give you is for new business and clients and customers, I can always trace it back to networking, relationships that I have built, and all of the strategic connections over time that I have invested in and poured time into, and vice versa. Those by far have just been 10 times over any other piece of marketing or thing that I have ever done throughout my career. That's what I got for you. I know it was probably like, oh, well, that's all common sense, but a lot of people do go out and go to event after event and stack up business cards. And at the end of the day or end of the month, go, man, like I spent 30 hours this month networking and I have nothing to show for it other than a stack of business cards.
I love that. I think that sometimes going back to the basics and hearing you said, a lot of this is common sense, but we have to be reminded of it often. And some of the things that I love and the notes that I took was build that power circle and relationships. They matter, and invest in strategic connections. And I think that it's not just invest in connecting, it's invest in strategically connecting. Who are we looking for? And we've got that Bob and Tom. Can you remind me what Bob stood for again?
So best of breed. So somebody who's like top of class in what they do, right? The best lender who's sending you good referrals, the best other agents that may work in a different price bracket than you that are also sending you referrals. Like, hey, I'm more of a first-time buyer person. This guy has $1 million home. I don't know why I would pass that off to somebody else, but you never know. It might happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for Will or any thoughts around this?
Hey, Will, I have a question with that best of breed. Like, do you have any kind of systematic, timelines for like how often you go and reassess that? Like if there's a certain period of time where those people have not maybe sent those referrals and maybe it's time to look at adjusting that circle. What in your experience does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it ebbs and flows, and I think it depends on the person. I mean, I've walked into a room where I've met somebody, and within 5 minutes, he's pulling me over to another person and says, "Hey, I just met him, but he's a web designer, and you were talking about a client that needed a web designer." But then there's also people that a year goes by and like, yeah, we'll keep up and maybe on social and this and that and the other. And then all of a sudden they email me and they say, "Hey, I actually just bumped into somebody that needs what you do." But I would say a good rule of thumb, I mean, if you're going back and forth and you're building that rapport, I would say reevaluate every quarter, and just kind of say, all right, like, I mean, or then it's also like that self-reflection of, have I reached out to this person? Right? Have I put in the effort and planted the right seeds and stayed top of mind with this person? Because it's hard, right? Like, I mean, it's like meeting a ton of new friends. Like, there's always going to be that one that you're just like, oh my gosh, I haven't texted Mark in like 7 days or 10 days or 20 days. And they texted me 3 times and I just keep forgetting to get back to them.
And, I think a big thing, and, yours is tighten your ask. And I think sometimes we either feel weird or we just forget because life is busy that we need to ask for the business. And it's not just about asking for the business to our database. It's about our lenders, our attorneys, the people that we send 15 power washing deals to a month, the people that are, doing the business that we're giving. We need to make sure that we're creating that power circle, that we're creating that understanding of, hey, look, I'm giving you business and I expect that in return as well. And sometimes it's just about having that conversation and reminding people that we're in this together. And maybe instead of focusing so much on just going back to clients and doing coffee with clients and client events, we try really hard to invite all of our vendors to our events and let them know that they're really appreciated, because when the time comes, we want to be top of mind when somebody is looking for an agent. So I think that that's really a great reminder, and we appreciate you doing this for us.
Yeah, I think that is the hardest thing, is asking for the business, because it's uncomfortable, right? It's not natural to say, "Hey, I need some money." Like, not in that way, but you're basically saying like, I need, like, hey, like, I've been sending you 10, 15 people. How about, do you have anybody? Do you need somebody? And I look at that, too, of like, when you're following up with somebody, like if I have an estimate out for a job, like, I am not a huge pressure salesperson, but I also know that if I just send an estimate and they never hear from me or I never check in, then it's like, okay, well, does he even care that we have an estimate like in our back pocket? And you do have to. So Anna's second favorite cousin, after me, is a home builder, and he just flew to Minnesota with 7 other builders, and a window company sent a private plane to pick them all up, to fly them out, to tour their facility, and they're investing in them, right? Because it's like, well, if you're going to build a $4 million beach house, we want you to put our windows in there. So we're going to put that time and effort, and we're going to pay for you, and we're going to wine and dine you, and we're going to send you out here, because they're doing that, right? They're staying top of mind with the popular home builders that are going to use their product.
Someone just texted and said, I have a lot of cousins.
Well, yeah, you do.
It's true.
You do.
I think 2 things I put in the chat, our website, aprevendors.com. This is our big Q3, Q4 project. But guys, I did a mastermind on this a couple Wednesdays ago, and I'll try to make sure that gets shared again. It's on our YouTube channel, but we don't tap into our vendor list like we should. There's so many vendors that make so much money off of our referral. And it's not even just the money. And this is one thing that I think is important to bring up. It's also my reputation making that referral for somebody. Like, I'm not just saying, oh, let me make sure you get some business. I'm also putting my business reputation on the line to send out that referral. So helping to legitimize that vendor list, like, don't just take someone's name because you heard they were good from 3 people before. Go sit down and have coffee with them. Have some kind of process for them getting on your vendor list. And that's what that website is developing for us, as a way to really legitimize that. So tap into that. And then the other thing I was going to say is, real estate agents, we're always looking for that inside sales agent button. Like, we want that good inside sales agent that's going to get in our database and make calls. One of the things that I think our business has really benefited from is having these strategic partners, because essentially what we have is, instead of having a single ISA that we employ in our office that's calling realty.com leads all day, we've employed hundreds of inside sales agents that are putting our name out into the community, that are making sure that when people are looking to buy or sell, that our name is out there. And so I like the best of breed for us. I literally think of these people in our network. These are inside sales agents for our team. And so change that mindset, realizing that that really is the position they're filling in your business. You're a small single agent and you can't afford to maybe scale up to hire something like that. This is a really good place where you can get some of that inside sales agent work being done for you in the community without having anyone on payroll.
That's great. Anna, you've done a training before and I do not remember her name, but you said that you had a client that was the best resource you ever had because she probably gave you 15 referrals in a quarter because you loved on her, you touched her, right? And you didn't need to go and pay for this crazy Zillow spend or this ad or this billboard because we are our brand and our clients and the customer service we give to them become our walking billboard. And I don't think there's anything that's more valuable than that. So again, I think it's about building that power circle. So I think that this was great. Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Anna, you are going to announce our next speaker.
I am?
Yeah. It's our favorite person. Well, we have a lot of favorite people, but this gal, well, she's great. We got to meet her last year and she got to see our superb golfing skills, which I thought was just wonderful. But
I've had an Instagram crush on Tammy Pack since I heard her speak at a Build conference a couple years ago. I'll never forget. She came on that stage and I think Kevin Call was like, "You're going to like this gal." And like within 2 seconds, I was like, I don't only like her, I'd like to be her. And she talked about purchasing, you were talking about purchasing a commercial property and you were talking about, you did seller financing and you said that guy, he said, if you're smart, you're not showing that you're making any money anyways. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know this person. So then we went to our generals and lieutenants retreat up in Whitefish. And literally, I think I did fangirl. I was like, Allison, like, there's Tammy Pack. I really want to be her friend. Let's go meet her. And then we ended up spending the entire weekend together. It was such a great time. And I've just loved getting to know you and all the things you do. Y'all will love Tammy. So I'm going to let her take it away. She's in Texas and share with us all of her great knowledge. She's got years of experience. She's got an attorney background. She's got amazing kids. And I mean, she's just great. You're going to love her.
Hey, everybody. How are you? I've got some new material for you today. Something I have never, it's a whole new slide deck, whole new thing. So I'm really pumped about it and I hope you end up really enjoying it. So y'all let me know how we're going to do the screen share.
We're excited. You have the ability to share. So you should just be able to go to the bottom and say share screen. And then Anna will pin that for everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Let's get her going.
I'm the
full disclosure, while she's doing that, we had the option at that retreat to go hiking, which 95% of everyone decided to go hiking. And then there was a small group that was going to go golfing. So that's how Anna and I ended up on the golf course. And it was really meant to be because we got to meet Mary Maloney and Tammy, and it was just such a wonderful connection. And Savannah, Tammy's daughter, and it was great. So we were so excited to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was super fun. I'm not a great golfer, but hiking that big old mountain didn't sound very good either. So I was like, let's try some golf. So let me see. Yeah, I like the way this looks. This will work here. So my talk for you guys today is called From Crashing to Crushing, implementing life-changing tracking and accountability. And I'm going to be talking about one of my 2 kids today and the lessons I have learned from this process. Let me tell you what this is not going to be. It's not going to be a talk about my kid is so great and so smart. Look how amazing they are. Even though we all think that, right? I'm going to talk about the kid who has had some challenges in life or, always been like, this one could go either way. But she's really made a turn. And I have learned more from this process and watching this growth. And interestingly to me, as a team leader, we live in Fredericksburg, Texas, have a team of 20. Every lesson, I'll go, man, realtors need to hear this. Time tracking, accountability, all the things I was hearing, mantras, everything. I was like, this is what realtors talk about. So let's just jump in because there's a lot of good stuff here to share. Let's see if it'll let me go to the next slide. There we go. First of all, before we go any further, like, how badly do you want it? And it can be whatever it is. Is it success on social media? Is it tripling your real estate business? How many of us want major league pay, but we're giving church league softball efforts? 90% of us, right? We all do. We want to crush it out of the park on everything, but we know in our heart we're not doing all we can. So let's get out of that mentality because we're not going to get that paid for those results. Okay. I love this quote by Gary Vee. He said, not everyone wants it as badly as I do. And for him, that was huge success as an entrepreneur. But I love it. He goes, and by the way, I'm not recommending you want it this badly. So his point was, I'm obsessed. I'm so driven. I'm not here to tell you, you all need to want it the way I do. He goes, but most people don't want it. So first thing we got to do is get real. How badly do you want it? Do you want to, what is it? Is it doubling your real estate income? Is it tripling it? Is it growing a team? Is it, for me, growing my YouTube presence, my YouTube channel? I'm giving a lot of lip service to some of those things, but I'm not putting in the hours I need to do at all times. So let's dig in on how we, myself included, going to change that. So when I talk about kids, I want you to see where we're coming from. So, and this may give some hope to some of you with kids who are in a phase where you're going, is this kid gonna be okay? I mean, surely they are, right? So this is what we've come from. My daughter, who was beautiful then and wonderful then, but just to let you know, some kids, do you have one of these that's the path's always like this, and they've just always been easy and wonderful to work with. They just naturally get it. And you have some that do this. Now, forget kids. Do you yourself do this? Do agents on your team do this? And you know their potential, but you're like, are they going to mature? Am I going to mature into what I need to do? So we went from that to this at the moment. So I'm here to give help for yourself, for your team, for your kids, whatever. Internally, a switch can flip and we control it about how we want our life to look, okay? So basically, the long and the short of it is my daughter graduated college in 2020. Wonderful time to be graduating, right? December of 2020, no jobs, you couldn't be anywhere, everything was virtual. So she just finished school. She thought about going to law school. My background was being an attorney. So she took the LSAT, and I, being a dutiful mom, bought her the Kaplan course, like a $1,500 course where you go and you take classes. And so she took those classes. She was very much in the not mature enough phase of her life at that point, 20 years old, and she got a 157. I'll never forget the call. So a 152 is the national average. So 157 is not a bad score, but it's not an elite school score that she wanted. She called me, and I'll never forget the comment on the phone. She said, Mom, I really squandered, I squandered the opportunity you gave me. And I said, well, she goes, I went to every class and I enjoyed it, but I didn't really think I needed to do homework outside of class. I didn't really prep. I just went to the classes and enjoyed it. And clearly you need to do a lot of homework to do really well. You know what I told her? I said, that is the best news you could have given me. Because even though I'm not happy you squandered the opportunity, I'm happy you're so self-aware to have realized you did. Because guess what? Law school would spit you out. Having been there, what this is the greatest gift, to know you're not ready. Sometimes the answer in our life is, I want all these things, but maybe I've got a new baby. I've got to give myself permission to know, is this the time? For her, it wasn't the time. She wasn't ready. She just wasn't. So she went and got a job as a server, started making really good money as a server, eventually decided, I'm going to move to New York City. Tickets there are even higher. A good 20% tip of that'll be even more. Didn't know about the tip pool, the way they take most of your money and divide it up to everyone else that's working. But long story short, at some point she goes, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do this. And the moment that I really appreciated when she goes, despite the money, even if I kept all my pay, which she was probably bringing in $1,000 to $1,300 a day on her shifts, and would leave with about $270 after they split it to everyone else. But what I loved, she said, I've just realized I just need to be around people who want more. People who want more for their lives. She goes, I want to compete. I want to win, like in a friendly way. And I want it to be good for everyone, but I need more. And she goes, I want to have a job, Mom, where I make a lot of money. I want to wear a suit every day and be very respected. I said, well, I think we might be back to being a lawyer. She goes, yeah, I think we are. So we started the journey again. She said, would you be willing to pay for me to have that course again? I said, with the growth I've seen in you personally in the last 3 years, heck yeah, I will. So let's do it. The beautiful thing is, as you saw on that last slide, she went from 157 to a 167 to a 176 over time. And friends or other kids will be like, yeah, but Celie's so smart. I'm like, She had a 157, guys. She did not get smarter. She worked harder and she worked smarter. She didn't get smarter. She was a very ordinary score, but her efforts is what took her from there to here. And that's what we can all do. What can we control in our environment? It's got to stop all the excuses about what's in the economy, the NAR, any of these things. We got to control what we can control. So ask yourself, does the way I'm spending my time align with my goals? You're working, but are you working on the right things? So now I've got to look at, I was working this morning on rewriting out some of my top priorities. And now, as I look at these priorities, I've got to say, great, that's what I'm saying I want. How does my time stack up? Is that what I'm doing? Because we all know this space to the right where we know we're doing stuff, but is it the stuff that moves the needle on what we said was most important?
I was trying to.
I have a struggle with that. I know I do. And that's what I'm looking to improve. So what she did, she started by creating a daily routine, an insane daily routine that got crazier over time, and tracking first her time and then the results that came from the actions, right? Daily routine, tracking your time, and then what were the results? Did you get the listing? What came of it? So I love this photo she sent me back in the day. She's very communicative. So I have photos all along this journey. This was about 1.5 years ago. So she started with a game plan. She said, okay, I'm going to start every day and I'm going to walk to a spot in the park. She was living in Manhattan at the time, remember? And she had told me, she said, if I can cut my work schedule for 20 hours, Mom, I will study a minimum of 32 hours a week and I will track it. And if you will support me a little extra, I'll cut my work to 20 hours. So we did. So her game plan was every morning at a certain time, she would walk to a spot and meditate and pray, giving gratitudes, asking forgiveness, of getting everything out of her mind, out of her heart. And I throw in there, it was yes to that Mongolian throat singing. She's a little quirky and a music major in the past, but she said that put her in the right frame of mind. Now I laugh and I put this picture because eventually said, could you help me pay for a warm suit? Because she goes, it's really getting cold in Manhattan, but I can't change my morning routine. It was so ingrained. I was like, yes, I will buy you a crazy suit to wear. So the routine didn't change, dang it. She just put the crazy outfit on and there she went. So she got to a bench and she goes, I would sit there, I would meditate and do my prayers. Then I would say my mantra throughout the meditation. I love this. Her mantra, because one of her challenges in anything academic is speed. She doesn't read quickly. She goes, Mom, I finally figured out, I think I'm actually pretty smart. I'm just not a fast reader. So all of life is about self-awareness, right? She goes, I just don't read fast. So her mantra became, I am fast, I am focused. She would say it over, I am fast, I am focused. So the positive self-talk came in instead of the negative voice we all hear. Then on the way walking back, she would listen to a practical podcast about taking the LSAT. So as soon as she got back to the apartment, it was time to take a practice test. I love this, without breaks. So simulating the actual thing. So if you're role playing, you don't break the fourth wall. Whatever you're doing, you've got to be in it and actually simulating the results and the environment you're going to be in. She would then review the results and study areas of weakness and go back for those. She goes, if I did poorly in reading, I made myself work on reading. She goes, which I hated. If I did well in reading, I would reward myself and I could work on logic games, which I like. So what you do is you evaluate the results. You've got to track and evaluate results and then pivot. So when the practice tests were the best for you, did you get the buyer broker agreement? Did you get the come list me call? What had you done differently? What had you tweaked? She would track things like how many hours of sleep did she get? What time did she have her coffee? I mean, it got uber deep. Did she need to alter the mantra? At one point, taking practice tests, she said, I would review the results and go, man, 3 or 4 of these I should have gotten. I knew how to do that question. I needed to slow down. So she gave herself permission to alter her mantra from I am fast, I am focused, to I am fast, I am focused. I take my time when needed. And I love that. I said, isn't that true for all of us? Give yourself permission to see what's working and what in your self-talk needs to pivot to get the results you want. What did she eat? You're going to laugh about this one. What did she eat during the brief lunch break they gave you during the test? You would have a few minutes to grab, because this test is hours long. So she would simulate the exact hours of the test. Halfway through, she would take like 10 minutes. She was like, do I eat a meal? Is that going to make me sleepy? Do I not eat? Now my stomach's growling and I'm distracted. So you're going to laugh. the perfect lunch for her score was 2 cherry tomatoes. That's what I really want to call the talk. Not 1, not 3, but 2 cherry tomatoes. She said, when you track things to this level, I realized, she said, 2 cherry tomatoes make my stomach stop growling, but it wasn't enough food to send the blood from my brain to my stomach. So you see, it's all just about the accountability of exactly what did I have yesterday that worked well for me. So do you feel most energized when you skip lunch? Or do you feel best when you pack a light, healthy lunch and work through? Or when you go out with someone with your sphere, potential clients, stop and look at what you do on the days that worked for you. On the days where you found the most success, what do we call reverse engineer it, right? Go backwards. What worked that day? This was honestly a mastery of reverse engineering, I believe. Here are some apps that she used, and I'm going to recommend you look into these. There may be others. I'm sure there are. One of the apps is called Hours Tracker. She started with Hours Tracker and she said it's super basic and it's really good if you just want to track like one category of thing, because it's free, it's easy. And with Hours Tracker, she was able to know at the end that she had spent 513.83 hours studying for the LSAT by the time we were done. By the time she got that 176, just to give you a little gauge, they say 20,000 people take the LSAT each year. 200 or fewer make a 176 or higher. So that's what we're talking about, going just above average to crushing it. So whatever your goal is and it's up there, this goal seemed out of reach at a 157, didn't it? But tracking her time became the pivot point. Now, once she got more advanced, she lives her entire life in Toggl and Timery. I asked her, I said, are those apps free? She said, Toggl is free. Timery is $10 a year. She said, even a cheapskate like her, she goes, I would actually pay if I needed to for those things a lot more. But Toggl actually tracks is good on your computer. It makes all the pie charts. It shows where you're spending your time, putting your money where your mouth is. And Timery is the nice app that's easy to clock in and clock out of, which she does all day long. This is a sample report she ran for me for her last 365 days. So she spent this many hours in bed, this many hours with friends, leisure, general school, family, hygiene, commute. You get to where you really break it down, and then studying. She said at some point you will want to keep getting more refined, but start simple. Don't overwhelm yourself as you go and you start to gamify it and make it a lot of fun. She goes, you will realize that a lot of categories are great. She goes, so she studied 59.6 hours per week during law school this past semester. She goes, now, as crazy as that is, she goes, I got to the point where I literally only counted. So this is going to be prospecting probably for you, right? It's networking, it's prospecting. If you're going to count it, she goes, I got to the point where I even took out, if it was study group, because I was having too much fun. If it was getting a little too social, I said, I'm not going to count that. She goes, so this is hardcore. I know what I can do. I know how hard I can work. So don't count time sitting around the table at the office when y'all are all just chewing the fat, right? You got to have a little social time, nothing wrong with that, but get real about tracking it for what it is. These are some bonus nuggets I want to share, and then we'll go back and talk in depth about any of these things you guys want to talk about. I loved this one because I thought every realtor out there could use this. Do what you have to do last. She said one of her greatest, well, a little spoiler, but toward the end, yes, she did get into law school. She got into the number 16 ranked law school in the country with a $50,000 a year scholarship guaranteed. She's doing incredibly well. She has now made top 15% in her class at WashU and made law review, which is incredible. And she's now been given an offer from one of the top 5 law firms in the country for next year, which is insane. Actually, the second highest grossing firm in the world. So to go from the green hair, I don't know what's going to happen with my life, to reaching all of what her dreams. She says, here's one of my big keys. She goes, and we can all use this. She goes, if I have an assignment due tomorrow, and then I have reading that I just need to do, I should do, not to get behind, I won't let myself do what's due tomorrow until I've done the reading. She goes, because what's due tomorrow is going to get done. If you have a listing that has to go live by 8 a.m., you're going to get the listing live, am I right? But if you do the listing and then you put your prospecting, which for us is all this study time, it's our prospecting, building our connections, building our business. She goes, I'll find a way to say, well, I can catch up on the weekend. She goes, but for me, my life hack was to move the negotiables, but that really should happen daily first. And then the stuff that was going to force me to do it got done last. That was a big hack for her. What I have found, and the reason she did so well, it's not about choosing to do the hard thing once. Success lies in always making the hard choice. What's funny is she made this top 15% by the hair on her chinny chin chin. She ended up with a 3.79, but she didn't. She really had a 3.7846. And 379 was the lowest you could go to get top 15%. So there were examples over time of doing the hard thing. We as agents, when do we not want to? We don't want to pick up the phone. We don't want to write the handwritten cards. This is the hard thing for us, right? She had what they call a pass-fail class in legal writing. And even the school said, don't put your time in that, right? It's pass-fail. She goes, yeah, but once I got in class, I found out there's something called a high pass. And once I knew that high pass existed and carried a 1 credit for a 3.94, I needed to give it my all. She goes, so friends were laughing at me because this thing we would do on the computer, she goes, they all went in, they finished it in 30 minutes, pass, good to go. She goes, I went in there and I spent 4 hours. She goes, but guess what? I got a 21.5 out of 22, and I know my friends didn't. At the end of the day, she got the high pass. Without that one thing, she would not have made the cut for top 15%. But it wasn't that one day she made the choice. It was that she made the choice every day. It's that she put off the thing she had to do and did the stuff no one wanted to do first, over and over. She went into an exam and she goes, I've memorized a lot of mnemonics for this thing, but I just have a feeling the teacher might ask about the Pfalzgraf factors. So she's in the hall memorizing them, and her friends are like, you're so over the top. You're being crazy. What are you doing that for? Guess what the question she saw on the test was? What are the descending points in Pfalzgraf? It was so, you see my point, at every turn, it's making the hard choice. You can't, this is what agents do, I find, because it's me. I will make one video and think, man, I didn't get anywhere with that. I'll make a few calls. It didn't work. I will door knock. It didn't work. It's doing it every stinking freaking day. I never found one day that she took the easy option. Every day she took, if any one of those days she lost a quarter of a point, she'd be top 20% and not top 15. It was every time. When you're faced with it, if you want it, as we said, that badly, that's what you got to do. I love this one. This was when she was first in New York and she wanted to get the server job, right? Well, it was a COVID resurgence had come up and people weren't hiring, and it was January in New York. Nobody was eating out either. So she was really having to work hard to try to find a server job. And so everything was by Zoom or by phone call. So she goes, well, I've got a phone call today with this restaurant. I'm so excited. And then she sent me this picture that morning. I said, oh, great. Is it going to be in person, or you get to go in person, or is it a Zoom? She goes, no, it's just a phone call. I said, oh, well, it's too bad. You look so nice and they're not going to see you. She goes, yeah, but I see me. And I was like, again, agents, do we prospect in our jammies on the couch? Do we put our mindset in a place of this is a business where I dress the part, I think the part, I act the part, or are we out there being church league softball? I loved it. She goes, my voice will sound different. My posture will be different. They will hear it in that phone call that I am taking this seriously. Then when it's all over, I'll put my regular clothes back on. But I love that. She said, they may not hear it. They may not see me, but I see me. So all of that stacks up and matters. So here she is today at WashU. Like I say, we've all just enjoyed the journey so much. And the thing that it keeps resonating with me is how real it is for agents. At everything she would say, I said, did you know that agents prospect? Agents use mantras. Agents use trackers and accountability. I said, but I've never seen someone reverse engineer their success any better than you have. So it has been fun to watch her actually succeed and meet all of her dreams, because she worked her tail off. Her friends work hard. She had a friend, she was dating someone. They said, well, why did you spend too much time on law review? That week you took 70 hours and 39 minutes, because of course she knows. And all her friends spent about 35 hours on this 600-page packet. She goes, yeah, but in the long run, maybe they're just smarter than me. But this is what I have to take. Maybe my market's harder. So this is what I have to do. Maybe the interest rates are high. This is what I've got to do to succeed, right? And of course, in the long run, she made law review and her friends that spent 35 hours did not. So it's at every turn being the one that everybody's like, man, why are you always in the office prospecting? You got a good business. Let's go out. Let's have lunch. Get real with yourself. And if you can do it on that, she goes, I got a few friends. They're so stinking smart. They don't have to work this hard. They can just get it. She goes, but that's not me. I can't. This is the work I have to do. So the sooner you dial into the work you have to do and you decide if you're willing to do it, do you want it that bad? That's when you're going to see success. That's what I've got for you.
That was amazing. That was amazing. I know we've probably got people that want to kind of pipe in, and I'd love to hear y'all's takeaways, but I wrote down that we can all do hard things, but doing them over and over consistently sets apart the good from the great.
You know, it really does. She has, like she said, all my friends work hard because when, again, she's so intentional. When she got to law school, she goes, my top criteria for finding friends was people that worked hard. She goes, if they're really smart, that's great too. But my main concern, because I want them, she goes, I can't go, and this can work in your office too. She goes, I can't go hang with the people that cut out early to go drink at the bar. She goes, I will only associate with people that I've already figured out are hard workers. That's number one, because what can we control? We can't really control our IQ, sometimes even our level of charisma in real estate or any of those things. What can you control? How hard you work. So surround yourself with the people that do what you want to do, not the guys that are going to say, come on, let's cut out early.
Awesome. We've got Tammy for a little bit longer. Does anybody else have any thoughts or any questions?
Y'all pick this lady's brain. It's real smart.
You know, it's been fun to watch because there's so many times in life I feel like you see people on your team and you see them starting to do something really good, right? But it's hard to stay consistent. But go back to that baseball picture. If you want that for your family, that's what it's going to take. If I want to grow my YouTube, I'm talking a big story about it, but I need to go look at the end of the week and say, great, that's my number one goal. How many hours did I spend on my number one goal this week? Probably not nearly enough, right? And I think if you can get real and accountable in that way, start small. And her biggest thing, she said, if you want to keep it simple, only track the things that are productive. So don't start with feeling like you have to track sleep and all of those things. That'll overwhelm you. She goes, but whatever it is, she goes, for me, that was number one was study. So I tracked studying first. So do that. And then if you're really into it, you can add things. But if it's prospecting and networking to build your business, just track that. And then look back at the weeks the business came in. How many hours were you prospecting? Or were you sitting back at the office taking desk duty, hoping the phone would ring? Right? We've all seen it. We know what to do. We just don't want to do it.
I love the tracker because I've got agents on the team and lenders and people that I, talk with all the time. They're like, golly, I mean, I'm working 8 hours a day or I'm working 10 hours a day. No, you're not. You're not. You're probably working about 4, maybe.
You're exactly right. And that's another reason that she thought this would be great is because once you become an attorney, everything is based on your billable hours. Your billable hours are the time you're actually intentionally, she said, studying for me, if again, she goes, when I was eating lunch, if I was reading, it doesn't matter. I don't count that. I count that as dining. She goes, because if I'm not fully focused and doing nothing but that, I don't count it because I don't want to fool myself into thinking I'm working those 8 hours when I'm not. Because guess what? When you go out in the real world, in real estate, your results are going to come from what you actually did that moved the needle. As an attorney, the hours that were actually billable is what moves the needle. So you've got to get real about what is the fluff and the fun. And there's nothing wrong with fun. I'm all about it. But if you want the results, you got to up the actual work that moves the needle.
Yeah, I like the apps because I send out our agents. One of the first things we give them is a stopwatch. And I say, look, you got to get a baseline, right? So, and I'll share this with you guys. Like if you're going to start tracking, one of the things that you have to do is you have to get a baseline to figure out where you're starting. And this can be tricky because the second you start tracking something, your brain starts doing different things, which is probably why it works. So you think, Tammy?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, you have to be very true. Like sometimes you might do a little less or you might do a little bit more because you're more cognizant that you're tracking. But I always encourage our agents, spend a week, don't change your habits, just see what you're doing. And then let's literally have a baseline. So in 6 months from now, we can say, hey, I used to feel really worn out by the time I finished, my work day, but I'd only worked 4 hours, right? And now we know you can work 6, 7 hours really more consistently without that burnout, without that exhaustion, but definitely starting with the baseline, because that's a really important thing to understand is where are you coming from? If you stop watching yourself.
That is brilliant. I love that. And I think everyone should implement it because the other great thing about that is it also gives you wins.
Dopamine hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't want to do this to beat ourselves up, right? We want to do this to say, I used to, man, turns out I was really prospecting 1 hour a week now, or a day. Now I'm up to 2. Now I'm up to 3. It's not here to beat you up. It's to say, here's a reality check. Now, where do we go from here?
That's right. And I'm a heavy sphere agent. I do a lot with, being out in the community. And that's really hard for agents sometimes to realize, and that's what I love about my job is I can go out and go to a charity golf tournament and I'm on the clock and I'm off the clock all at the same time. But I tell my agents, that first week, if you're in the grocery store and someone stops you in the aisle and says, how's the market? It's going to be awkward, but reach in that pocket, click your stopwatch because you're now on the clock again. And that's the problem is sometimes we're actually working more than we think we are, but because it doesn't feel like work, or because you don't have the tracking to it, because you don't think about that conversation in the grocery store as a prospecting activity, that you don't go into your CRM, you don't log the conversation, you don't send the follow-up, you don't do something with it. Some of the work that you're actually doing is going without any profitability because you're not tracking it. It's not going anywhere. It's just a dead end in a grocery store line.
That is so true. She of course has this Timery app on her phone. She goes on her watch. She goes, so I try before I go into the apartment to see my friends because I don't want to be weird. I track social time. I try not to let them see me tracking my time. But you can get as detailed as you want. But starting off with those, you're exactly right. That's knowing your business. If what brings you business is not cold calling, but if it's going out and you look back where you did get business, enough to know that it's from you being out in social situations. It's from you being in your sphere, right? So you absolutely want to reward yourself with the dopamine of doing whatever created your business.
Right. Anybody have any questions or comments for me? I got chills when you were finishing up talking about her story because it's so good. And that serotonin was rushing, being able to just see a win for someone else. Anybody else have a questions for Tammy?
No, it's not a question. Oh, sorry.
Go.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, not that I didn't understand everything you were saying, but until you actually could related it to the word billable, it didn't click. So just that one takeaway, that was worth all of it. That was pretty cool because I never really thought of it that way. And it makes total sense now, more so than it did when you were talking. That's cool.
That's great feedback. And I can move that earlier in my talk. I like that. Thank you.
Well, and I think that we also want to convince ourselves as realtors and agents of what is actually moving the needle. But really, when it boils down to it, it's calling your database, it's prospecting, lead generation, and lead follow-up. It's setting appointments, negotiating contracts, and showing homes, right? And so if we want to convince ourselves that it's sitting in groups or it's masterminding or it's going to lunch and talking about the NAR settlement, those are all things that help us become more well-rounded agents and understand our market. But the things that are actually moving the needle are the things that really aren't the fun things to do. And so again, it's we can all do hard things, but it's the people that are able to do those hard things over and over again is really what sets you apart from being good to great. So Tammy, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you guys are not with EXP, I just want to point out that we have got powerhouses here that are willing to pump in and talk to us about all kinds of topics and all kinds of things. And it's really just the beauty of the collaboration and the model. And so we really appreciate you being here with us.
You bet.
Tammy's our EXP cousin.
Right.
All right. We have got our next speaker, Anna. Take it away.
Oh man, I'm just like the introduction queen.
You
today.
are.
Okay. Well, I can tell another story about this next speaker. I went to my very first conference in San Diego. It was a general conference and I wasn't actually qualified to go because I was still a solo agent doing not a ton of production, but Tina Call got me in. So I went and kind kind of like what we were just talking about, I built my business in grocery store lines and in community golf tournaments and things like that. And the problem with that was it wasn't very duplicatable because that was all me, right? It was me. It was my sparkly personality, as I like to tell people, that was picking up this book of business. But then how was I going to scale it? Because I was showing a house a week after I had my twins, and I already knew I was going to bump into some problems with this being my business model. And I was sitting in that little theater space in that conference room in San Diego, and Elias, who works with Kenny, started this conversation where they started showing us all their systems and processes. And all of a sudden I was like, this is how people do it. I was like, this is how you grow a business. And it was such a monumental shift. I mean, I left that conference. I think Ashley was with me. Like I had Calendly, I had Monday, I had every system follow-up boss. I mean, I came home from that conference and just threw up all over my business because for the first time, someone showed me how it works. They showed me the nuts and bolts on how do you actually build something that can scale and can grow. I just think the world of this team, the FAST team out in California. I'm so thankful. I know your time is spread all over the place, Kenny. So thank you for pouring into us today. We really appreciate it. And I'll let you take it away from here.
Cool. Thanks for intro, Anna. I didn't really come prepared with a presentation. I wanted to more talk about, haven't done this before, so I never really rehearsed for stuff I talk about. I just kind of talk about what I know and want to talk to you guys about like how I kind of organize my life and my work and stuff like that. For some background information, run the sales team at EXP. We've been consistently number 1 and number 2. We currently have 95 pending escrows right now. I'm probably 1% of my team sales. So a lot of what I do and to talk about like on social is I just show up for things, but you have to create a workflow for that to happen. Some examples, again, this is not like a full-on, I don't have slides or anything. I'm just going to literally show you my actual work. So Calendly is a big part of my life. And if you go to callkennyfast.com, you can book me if for any reason, you can book me for 30 minutes. So the way I have it set up with my team too, with my calendar, which I'll actually show you my work calendar. This is my work calendar. I track all my work stuff, my food, my personal time, my Uber rides, my drive time, all like I literally just finished a workout like 10 minutes ago. But I allocate the times because I can then schedule it accordingly. And then most of my business partners on the team, I do about a dozen deals a year, and about 6 or 7 of my agents, maybe closer to 10, has access to my calendars. So my teammates will all just go ahead and book something for me. So they never DM me and ask if the time's okay or not. If it's in there, it's good to book. And then through Calendly, you can do the same thing. If someone were to book me for anything right now, I'll just give you an example called, so someone wanted me for a call. I have most of my meetings for to run my company. I only need 5 meetings to run my company. On Tuesday, I have my Tuesday morning coaching call, my leadership team call, my team meeting. And in the afternoon, I have a marketing meeting. And Wednesday morning, I have a staff meeting. Past that, there's no other meetings required for me to run my company. I found that if you let people lead in the departments, not sure why this is showing up, so I'll just work with it. You can arrange the available bookings on your time through Calendly and time block certain things. So Calendly does have a sync with your actual calendar. And what you could do is you can also have it where it blocks off the like later or prior 15 minutes. Let's see. Buffer time. Oh yeah, no, okay, maybe this wasn't the one. Oh, sorry, this buyer consultation. Let me go to my 30 minutes. This is the one that gets used most frequently. Here you go. So buffer time. So because everyone has access to my calendar to book me at any given time, and on certain days, I have on the mornings I just told you I have my meetings, which is Tuesdays and Wednesdays. People usually can't book anything in the daytime, so I give myself a couple hour breaks too. I'm in the middle of this book right now called I think it's like from some guy named Dean. It's called Buy Back Your Time. I was recommended by a friend. I've only picked up little bits of things in there, but I still like listening to it to kind of learn different ways of saying the same thing. So I try to take all my Zoom calls on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so it leaves me free for no appointments from Thursdays to Mondays. And I do a lot of conference and stuff like that. And then that way my team members can get a hold of me. Another thing too, if you're running a large sales teams where you have leads incoming, If you're at ESP already, you know, those team contracts, the DocuSigns, the hello signs, all those can really clog up your inbox. So for me, I have a ton of email filters that sort my life out. So, and then like if you guys want to see my recruiting deck, it's jointeamfast.com. I think if you want to see my buyer presentation, it's bit.ly/buy-with-Kenny-Fast. Listing presentation is bit.ly/sell-with-Kenny-Fast. The reason I'm telling you that is you want to also have these hyperlinks that people can access these things quickly. But every time someone opens up one of those presentations, you get an email alert. And then you don't actually want to disable that because it's pretty important. But what you could do is if it comes in, like that's just one example, you can mark it as read. So I don't actually have emails coming. I get about 8,000 to 9,000 emails a month, and I'll show you my email report, but I only really respond to like 6 or 7 emails a day. So I also don't have to read the hundreds of emails coming in. Some other stuff too, like that you can, if you use Slack at a high level, like I'm a participant in the top agent network in my local MLS. Actually, it's a third-party product. So we get off-market listings coming to me that I paid subscription for, but then I actually don't want those emails in my inbox. I do want the emails. I just don't want to see them. So you can set it as a market thread and then you forward it to your Slack channel. So we do a lot of that stuff in market updates and Slack. I don't need to know anything that comes from SkySlope. These agents are no longer, my VAs used to send me a startup day report and in the day report and CC my staff, but I don't actually need to read them. I just want to have them in inbox in case I need to refer to them. So other stuff might be, I'm a Redfin partner, I'm a HomeLight partner, Ojo, Opcity, Fast Expert, Zillow. I'm a partner. I get leads from all those companies, but again, I don't want to see the emails coming in. And certain websites like MailChimp or DocuSign or will send you those verification codes. So I don't want to forward the email every time something comes in for my staff, which is good because you want that security. You don't want someone to hack your email and do something crazy with it. So I have all the emails coming in where if security codes comes in, it automatically forwards to my marketing team. So that's kind of like a lot of the stuff that runs in the back end of my business. If you don't already, in my area, we use Supras, Blue Supras for showings. You want to track all your showings so you can reach out to the agents. You don't want to log into the website to check every single time. So I have it marked as all the incoming showings and marked as red. So I need to refer to a property. I know it's in there somewhere. Let me see what else we have. I used to be part of a recruiting company or online lead stuff. Like YLocal is a good example. YLocal gives you an email alert every time someone comes back on the site more than twice. Well, we have 100,000 leads in my database, and you don't want to disable that because once in a while you'll see something really good in there, but so you still want it in your inbox. And I also I get the same notification through my text message through my work number. So those are kind of like some of the email filters to sort out, save a lot of your time. And then for my business, I have 2 phones. My work number is a number that's online for anyone to see. It rings my second phone, and I use a really great company called Lex Reception. I got actually a recommendation from Kyle Wisso. I love it. Been using it for a couple of years now. It costs about $1 a minute to roughly. So I'm on a low utilization plan. I was paying about $300 a month. Now it's around 90. But many random days I'll get like 8 or 9, spam phone calls in the morning, and that interruption, I would rather just pay $10 that day, not get interrupted, so I can focus on making money. So Lex Reception has been great. I love how it works because when someone calls in, it'll be like, "Hey, who's this? No, who's this calling? You want to talk? You're looking for Kenny? Great. Let me check if Kenny's available right now. And then what's your information? And they'll get the information down. But actually, they can actually not get a hold of me. But so in between that chat, they get the information. So every single call that comes from my work number gets picked up. A lead never ever gets missed. If it's something serious, if it's money, they're going to talk to someone and give me their information. So that's been a great way to save a lot of time and money, energy, having a receptionist. And let's see, emails. This is a great tool called Email Meter. If you're kind of curious about how efficient you are with your business, they send you, it's free. They send you a daily digest once a month to see. Because I'm a data nerd, so I get really excited about this stuff. So I know that in the last 30 days, I got 6,000 emails and I sent 186. I'm willing to bet I sent 100 just to my team alone somewhere in here. But I've tracked this over the years, and I only send like 6 or 7 emails a day to be efficient with my time. And then on my I also don't make decisions by myself with my company. I have 4 people on my leadership team. And one struggle we've continued to have and continue to improve on is communication. We really try to limit the amount of side conversations I have with each high level staff person if it pertains to the company. And there's been challenges like we're really dealing with it on a monthly basis. But we found that the more group chats you can have on Slack, the better. So although not everyone needs to respond to something, they should all be aware of it. So if I don't want to call I don't want to like talk to the same person, get the information from person A and have to speak to person B about the same information. What has happened a lot and lots of conflicts has happened recently in the company is I just make decisions really, really quickly. Sometimes they're wrong decisions, but I just don't care, or it's just the time, money, value of repairing is not on me. So what has happened is, without going on a tangent, like just painting a room or putting some furniture in the new office we're putting our studio at. If person A comes to me with a question, I was like, yeah, do this, and then person B comes with a question, and then they have different information for person C because I wouldn't have made a different decision from person A. So what we found, like, I just give really quick answers, and that's been the issue with breaking things and people getting all out of sync. So now we try to really combine everything into one. That's why also we have our weekly leadership call. We have an agenda with that. We do quarterly reviews with our team. So that's how the question come in.
I was making a note just
Oh,
for
okay,
the team
cool.
leaders that you made this right very early in your talk, and it said, you know exactly how many meetings you need a week to run your team, and that's
Yeah.
it. And
Cool.
your discernment of that was so clear. And then I made sure that I looked at my director of operations was watching this, because I'm like, did you hear that? Because there's some team leaders on here, and there's agents on here that are running their businesses, and it's a big deal, right? Like, as team leaders, I think that as I hear you speak and what you're showing me is you've streamlined and simplified everything to know exactly what filters are what and where they go and who's going to handle it. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was making that note to
I
team
saw some pop-ups as
leaders.
a team leader. And then
Yeah.
like during this book I just listened to, or maybe I saw this from a real this week, was, when you're assigned assignments, when you assign tasks or assignment to someone, you don't have to always give them the instruction. You want to give them the result you're looking for, and you also want to frame what success looks like. So I'm able to do that successfully by just saying what I want, and then people figuring out how to get there, and that's how you're going to empower people to do the work. I'm sure you've heard this before. Like, if you can get someone to do something at 80% of what you could do, that could be sales, that could be marketing, anything. You should just have that person do it, and they can improve on it. Because we think, and we probably are the best at everything because it's our business. We're more personal about it. It impacts us the most. But the more you can outsource, the better. So for my company, I actually don't know a lot of what goes on behind the scenes, but I just know everything gets done. And then I'll give you example in my sales part of my business. Like I still interact with clients. Last year I sold 14 homes. The year before I sold 6 homes. This year I'll probably do a dozen. My agents are really good. My team members are really good at my partners. The ones I'm actually working with on the deal are really good at updating me through text and stuff after every single meeting. But then I'll look through it and I actually don't even want to consume the data sometimes. I just call them, like a quick call can solve a lot of problems. So although I try to limit meetings, I love 2-minute phone calls. It's done, and I don't have to read some of the stuff. I don't have to figure out. So my partners kind of lead with it and understand how I work. And then with booking appointments so this is more for the average normal resident sales agent. So my partners I work with too, most of them have virtual assistants. I love that when we have buyer appointments or listing appointments, all the information is prepped in a Google invite for me. Like if it's a tour, they book out all the times, and then they send time information to the buyer, myself, and I usually show up for at least one meeting for most clients, the first meeting, and that's more often than not. They have all the information, but then a second invite goes out. That's just to me, my business partner, and the virtual assistant. And now I have a link to disclosures. I have the confidential remarks in there. I have like instructions, Supra, and all that stuff. So this is kind of where I just show up for things, because all the virtual assistant preps everything for you, because that could probably take an hour of your time. So it makes life much easier. So my job is to create business opportunities for the team and set that up. So I'm usually on the very first consultation, and every time we meet a new client, the first thing that happens is we send a group text out asking for a time that works for them, and immediately we love sending them a digital business card. Like I use Blink. That way they have your information, your website, your social media and all that. You want them to stalk you. So what my pet peeve is when I get people sending me business cards or just a JPEG. Like I can't copy and paste that into my database. I'm sure clients are even less tech savvy because it's not their day-to-day. It's kind of annoying to get some of that stuff. And then let me see, I can go back to what was on my picture or advertising. What was I supposed to talk about for this? This is me showing up for things, to be honest.
Your
No.
productivity hacks.
Yeah,
Productivity hacks.
which you've literally you've given us tons of hacks. So
Yeah.
I would like to
Well,
share all of my notes.
in my house, I'm thinking about my household.
We had some really, really bad storms
I hate turning on
yesterday
the
last
lights.
night through the night. So
I have sensors in all my rooms. So like my bedroom, my front door. So when I walk in and out, I don't have to even turn on lights. I don't even want to do the voice thing. So I found that to be very useful. And more recently, I got this like Philip Hughes, the dot thing. I have one next to my kitchen, and then I have a 4-button thing next to my bed or my doorway. So I got tired of yelling Google, turn off the lights. So then like, yeah, like some quick hacks. So I really try to be like really efficient around I spent like 80 hours and I track all my time in a really weird way. I spent like almost 80 hours decluttering my house this year, and I've been like sorting out and maximize every little thing to move around quickly. And then I'll show you kind of like how I use my calendar. This is a calendar that my team has access to. So I've been tracking my calendars for a year. Excuse the dark purple. So actually, this is embarrassing. The dark purple, I started tracking my drinking too. So if I had more than 2 beverages in a night, I put that purple. But I'm really glad that a lot of nights actually, I can't see my private calendar. A lot of nights are actually clear. I probably drink 2 times a week now, which is really good. And then yellow is working out. So I work out probably 7 to 8 times a week. I'm really happy about that. Blue is working in my business. So money making activities is while I'm at the office, I'm in an appointment, I'm in front of a client, I'm doing something. And then yellow, again, yellow workout, errands, stuff like that. And green is working in my business. Like something like this is working in my business, a podcast, a meeting, a recruiting meeting, a training, a conference. And purple usually is tied to orange. Orange is just fun play, just no making money activity at all. Usually it's entertainment or personal joy or something. And again, light purple is if I had 1 drink. So I'm pretty good. At the pool over the weekend, I had 1 drink. Next week, this week. So this week you can see I've been working a lot. And then I try to plan out I don't work out exactly what I plan, but I have it in my log. So I have to do something. So if it's in your calendar already, you have to move around. You actually have to make a very conscious decision to get it out of your life. So it's all in my calendar for Inman. Hope see you guys in Inman. And then when I book flights for places, like I don't have a flight to Ventura yet from Inman. I put tentative times when I plan to book the flights to those locations, and I bake in the time I'll be at the like I literally don't even have a Vegas. I really should book that. I know I have a thing in my thing to book that. So I try to plan in my Uber time, my break time, my time at the airport. So I fly probably 30, 40 times a year. So I have that all in, and then figure out where I have my meetings and such.
What
Okay,
I
what
think is
else?
so interesting is Tammy just spoke, and the correlation is crazy behind, her daughter tracked everything down to how many tomatoes should she eat to make sure that she wasn't too hungry or that she wasn't too full, right? And some people watching this just maybe think, golly, this seems like a lot, right? And you don't necessarily have to go to this extreme, but we're also talking to the number 1 and number 2, depending on the day, team leader of one of the most successful teams in the world. So, it doesn't have to be this extreme, but if you want to hit the goals and you want to go from good to great, I just think that it's such a great correlation between what Tammy was just talking about and what you do on a daily basis. And if you don't track the things you're doing, you don't have a roadmap to show you, what's gotten you here. And so, how do you go from good to great? I think it's about being super clear on what you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah,
So
I track every call I had that's significant, like probably usually over 5 minutes with a client or a team member. Is rare. It's rare team members call me for anything. I might get 2, 3 calls a week tops, and clients I only interact with maybe 3 clients a week top. So, and then I have a bad time remembering. Like I know this, like I checked like this in the last 4 months, I've only met with 6 buyers. So I should know. I only have 6, and like it's probably 80% will convert. Like I should know who those people are. I'm not working a lot of leads. And then as you're building your, because a lot of this calendar stuff is a leading indicator to your business. The lagging indicator is the results you're going to get from your business. I don't spend time prospecting or calling leads because I've been doing this a long time. So I do more time tracking what I do have. But your calendars would look different. If you're going to be time blocking calls, it could just as simple as like you saw, I don't know if you saw briefly, workout Peloton. I put how many miles I log. I consistently have done 3 weeks over 100 miles a week. And that's the time. I have my Peloton here. I watch hours and hours of YouTube. Lately, I'm trying to get into cycling and pickleball. I haven't touched cycling once yet, or pickleball. I had my first class today because I'm not going to go into social media tangent. But you get so much time done that you just organize everything. So I feel like it's a cheat code for me to be on. I did 4 hours of Peloton, my biggest one ever, and I got all my work done and my email, and I learned something. So you got to kind of like find ways to merge everything together. And like, where I was getting at, and like if you're time blocking calls for an hour, and then you parentheses 32 calls. That's it. Like, you don't need you don't need a spreadsheet. You don't need CTS. You don't need a CTS. Just put that. You had 32 calls and then put in the notes for connections and maybe who you talk to. So try to find ways to like make your life as simple as possible. It's kind of like, I don't know, like I see like track calling and your dials and your activity-based stuff. Because our team does track a lot. We track open houses or door knocking or like we have a whole spreadsheet as a part of our program. But for me, I work out consistently a couple times a week. So I track all my workout down to weight and reps. Every week I'm looking to just improve it by a little. Like today I improved all my lifts by 10% since the beginning of July. I've added 7 pounds of muscle in 7 weeks, which is crazy. So like 1 pound might not seem a lot. So I try to teach my team like it's the little things. Like, and then when don't set your goals too big. If you set your goals too big for whatever you're trying to accomplish, that's a big issue many people I meet have. They get burnt out. They're not making any progress. So I'm sorry, but you sold 4 homes last year and you're not selling 20 homes this year in the down market with 30% less sales. So you sold 4 homes last year, set it go to 10 homes this year, set it for 3 a quarter, set it for 1 a month, and then do everything you can, just get that 1. And that's kind of how you build momentum and do things. For me, this calendar did not look like this. It didn't become color coded until a couple of years ago. I did not start tracking my Uber rides. And then I like tracking who I rode the Uber, like I rode with Uber with. I don't drive that much, but I don't know, all those stuff. Like because I'm on autopilot mentally because I track everything. I don't have to like. It's me making a quick mental note of something and I move on and do the next project or something that's gonna make me money.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I guess it's the concept of do the hard things, get it figured out, and then it really simplifies your life a lot. It takes away a lot of that mental pressure to just make sure that you're doing it and it becomes second nature. I love when I've heard people say that most people greatly overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, but they greatly underestimate what they can achieve in 5. And that's kind of the same concept. This calendar didn't start like this, last year. It's evolved and it's grown and you've created.
And the funny thing about the calendar, I actually got it from my friend that is not even in like sales business. She runs a hydroponic store and a flower store. One day I was like, what is this? Like, I was like, wow, this is cool. And this is years ago. And then I started bidding over time and stuff like that. And I've gotten a lot of my team members to do it. So you can get inspired by anywhere. Because there's a like 80-20 rule, I think, especially if you're a new agent, you're not a team leader, 80-20 rule. You should be spending 80% of your time making money, clients, and then 20% of your time working on your business, improving like this stuff. But then as you become a team leader, you're going to be interacting less with your clients and you'll be working on your team. So it'll shift over time. But how do you know what that looks like if you don't have that? And then, we want to have a balanced life with, spiritual, family, friends, and health, all that because I've talked about that a lot lately with my team. Like there's like 6 pillars, 5-6 pillars between who you talk to. Well, I can clearly see I have yellow, orange, blue, and green. There's no spiritual in there. It might be different color if there was in there, but I can see at a quick glance my calendar. Like I have a good balance of that, and I know that I'm healthy throughout the week, mentally and personally, and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I don't know if there's any question. Again, I don't have a quite a presentation.
No, you did great. You don't
just
need to have a
remember-
presentation. It's all about showing up and pouring into others, and hopefully people got great nuggets from it. Again, I've got like tons of little sticky notes here, and this was wonderful. Let's see.
I see Stephanie. Yeah, Calendly is the front face. I always call it like the front facing of my calendar. It's like my shop for my calendar. So I have pretty much every kind of appointment that you could think of in there that people can go in and schedule. And it was so simple because we're going to do some one-on-ones with our team this week. And we were just requiring them all to hit a 45-minute session with me just to go through those new buyer presentations, listing presentations, making sure they have all their new documents and they know how to use them and which one to use. And it was so simple because we sent it out in Slack, and 5 seconds later, it was just like in my email, bam, bam, bam. My calendar's locked down because my calendar already knew when I was available. And to think about just the time it would have taken before I used Calendly to try to schedule one-on-ones with 20 some agents would have been impossible. And it's done. We're done. We did it. It was accomplished this
Another
weekend.
Calendly hack picked up with two. I improved or got from someone last year was on my, because I only use one link, Talk Any Faster. The other stuff is not utilized. That's why the first one was I showed you was a mistake. But now I add, obviously what's your name? Then I put what's your phone number, what's your Instagram handle? Is this a vendor call, or do you want to learn about the team? Do you want to learn about my company? Is this something, a mastermind, something else? And then have we met before? Is it in person or not? Because for a moment I was getting, just to give you some perspective, like 4 years ago, I was like 400 recruiting appointments 1 year, mostly on Zoom. Like 2 years ago, I probably had like 150 recruiting appointments. Now my partner, I do like 3 or 4 months tops, but I didn't know what's showing up on my calendar. Like I don't know who these people are. So if you filter some of that out, it helps a lot to understand what that is. And then my partner Elias is the same thing. And I picked this up from Tina Call actually last year after I had a mastermind with her where I booked on her calendar. I got after the meeting, I got an email saying, thank you for your time to learn more about like, so I now include that, learn more about, I appreciate your meeting, learn more about my team. This is YouTube link, learn more, follow us on Instagram, please. So now like you have this kind of funnel, and then you can do pre-appointment emails or pre-appointment text too. So that helped me get much more organized on my calendar.
And it also it also makes it a little bit more of a professional experience for the consumer. So that's nice too.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say with all of that, I would say thank you for being here, because we got on your calendar somehow, and that makes me feel even more special.
I just showed up, yeah. And booking ahead, like off days, because Calendly reads your calendar. Like, just don't be afraid to put a bunch of off days. Because you realize, like, the more efficient you are, I think you have people work around your calendar. Like, so I said, like anyone can book me any given time, but it's within the time frame that works for me. So like if you do that way, you can take on more projects, you can take on more people, you can take on more ideas. If you cut out the things that causes friction and slows everything down.
Right.
I think one thing too that I really found helpful is I learned throughout my day where my rhythms are. I'm a really good ideator in the mornings. Those are kind of my prime ideation hours. So like those 45-minute coaching calls, like I don't have them set up where someone can book them at 3 p.m. because they're going to be garbage. And like, you don't want to talk to me at 3 o'clock. Allison, you don't want to talk to her past right about now.
Correct.
Like, we have, but like Allison 6 a.m., like you want to be on her call. So find where
we talk at 6 a.m. every morning, by the way. She and I will just sit there laying in bed talking to each other.
But those natural rhythms of where that I have peak ideating hours, and like I don't open my calendar up for things that actually like could make me less money during that time period. Like I don't have tenacity time blocks from 9 until 1 a.m. Like if you ask me to go in there and clean up the database or do things that are very tenacity driven, that's not my highest paid dollar through those hours. And so learning how to block your calendar based on the way that your brain works, that's a really big deal, guys. Like learning.
Yeah, like a marketing meeting is 10 minutes. It's just like a quick look. I want to exert my brain power. Like that's why coaching call comes for my leadership team. So that's more intense, and I can bring some ideas to the table. My team meeting is pretty easy ran. I don't speak on most of them, and the marketing meeting is just like yes or no stuff. So you kind of build that out throughout the week. Yeah, so it's and then like you gotta really lead people to make decisions in the department. The book I read and we already practiced it. If a decision is like less than $300, just do it. Don't even ask me or bugging me about it. Like it's and then it can go up higher depending on who it is and who has control over that. So the whole point is you want to make less decisions and do less things, but do the most impactful things. Like this, I'm in front of X number of people for right now, and like my goal as a team leader, as a local recruiter, is to get on as many panels and masterminds and workshops and training as possible. This is my third one this week. And I have a team barbecue tomorrow. It'll be in front of 100 people. So that's going to make me the most money and productivity in my business is getting my face physically in front of like 500 people this week versus meeting a client, which is great. I'll meet clients all day. The 2-3 I might meet this week. So everything has to be really impactful.
Well, I can say that this was very impactful, and I am so happy that you came on. And I also hope to see you in Miami for EXPCon.
Awesome.
Will you be there? Very exciting. Well, if anybody doesn't have anything else, we are going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know that it is lunchtime on the East Coast for a lot of people, so we are going to introduce one of our quick speakers that is a lender. Anna, take it away.
Not a lender, just not a lender, but
That's why I told you to
she's in
take it
her
away, and
office.
I'm not in charge of announcing people.
I know.
See that, everybody? I'm gonna stay in my
the
lane.
MC today. I'm the MC today. No, I knew it would be lunchtime for us here, and if you've been like me, you've been taking down copious amounts of notes and thinking about all the things that we're going to go fix and do and change. So we thought, let's break up a little bit of real estate content. And I introduced Shay Polk, who is with Modern Woodmen. They are a financial planning group. Their office is about 30 minutes from our office, and we've recently connected, and it's been so much fun getting to know this crowd. And I kind of like what Will really opened us up with. It was talking about really expanding that network. It's been really funny to see some of the tools that our business had that's been able to help yours, and vice versa. Some of the connections that you've helped us make in our business. And so I told Shay, I was like, why don't you come break up our day? And I was like, you can talk about whatever you can talk about. So I don't even know what she's going to talk about. But she's recently left the healthcare field. And I think, she looks a lot like us, commission based, right? And so to watch her make that transition from what she always thought she would do into a new career. I just thought she looks and sounds a lot like us as real estate agents. So I just wanted to open the floor to her. Also to make sure you have an introduction. We do this with our team. If you're agents, if you're not working with someone that's helping you with your money that you're putting in your pocket, please don't do what I did and struggle for a couple years not knowing which direction to go. And so I think sometimes just exposure to that can be huge. So I'm going to turn that over to Shay and let you talk about whatever you want to talk about, because the floor is all yours, my friend.
I appreciate that. I loved your audio yesterday. I decided not to talk about the blue sky though, so I did get a little bit more dialed in than that. But yeah, so like Anna said, I'm Shay Polk with Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financial. You can see my backdrop there. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with you guys. I've been kind of popping in and out because it's always good to, even from a different industry, just to kind of get those motivational pieces and the hacks. Kenny's pretty impressive. I'm not sure I can keep up with him on the tech side of things, but still it's a lot of value that's, even been added to my day. Like Anna said, so I did come from the healthcare field. Modern Woodmen of America has been around since the 1800s. It's a near and dear to my heart company. My family actually moved here from Tennessee when I was young, so my father could start the region here in North Carolina, and my brother's now the regional director. So it's not a foreign land to me, even though it sounds a little nutty to have, a medical professional come into the financial space. Honestly, I was an internal medicine PA for 16 years. So my skill set in that department was to establish relationships with patients and build that trust, right? So that I could offer value and solutions to their life. So a lot of that actually transfers over into the financial space. It does take that trusting relationship for people to open up about their financial outlook, even sometimes more than their health. It's kind of interesting. The other background that I felt like was really important coming into this space is, as a primary care provider, I was able to use a lot of my skill set to help people, but I couldn't do everything, right? So like If a patient needed, a cardiologist, their heart was in trouble, I'd send them there. If they needed an orthopedist, the list goes on. I feel the same way in this space, and this is why this relationship with Anna and her team is so valuable, because we want to make sure that we're providing that holistic approach to all of our clients and be extremely community based. So Anna was introduced to me through Scott Thistle, my managing partner, and her intention was to have us come in and, really be a value to her team, because we are 1099. We're very similar structured. And like she said, going from, the W-2 steady Eddie paycheck to learning how to build your nest egg on commissions is tough. But having those solutions in place and providing that education and taking the time to meet with clients, it's important to do that not only for your real estate team, which we want to do that for you guys, but also to work with your clients. One of the things that we love to do with Anna's team too is we do have some clients that are in the higher net worth. And so we do value a diversified portfolio. So if you've got clients that really have the extra cash and they want to put it into smart solutions to build their money for retirement, we have the close relationship with Anna where we can say, hey, this person really wants to buy investment properties. They have cash, or they want to set it up so that when they decide to retire, they still have that steady income coming in through those rental properties. So that's been a huge value that we want to continue to grow that platform with her and her team for the cash offers and investment opportunities. Also with you guys, when you're working with your clients, on the buy sell side, that's a transition point in life. And Anna, you tell me, how many years do people usually stay in a home with their family?
4 to 7, somewhere in that range.
Right. So, what we like to do too is, as a team, as a financial team, that's, when they make that bigger purchase, we want to get them back to the table and have them continue that saving model so that when they're ready to upgrade with you guys and buy that next property or buy that beach house or whatever, whatever they want, whatever their short-term goals are, if we get them back in that system of saving and setting up the right accounts so that their money grows for them, then that's a return referral back to you guys. Like, hey, it's time. Let's pull the trigger on that property you've been wanting to do. So I think that that's just having that close relationship where we can continue those conversations and contact. And then the fun part too is just, being able to help you grow. And when we send a referral with a high value specialist that has that same model of like total client care, being the point of consultation, like what you guys said, like we would refer to the power washer to this, but everybody that you refer to, you've vetted and you have a trusting relationship with. But to me, that is the most fun thing to do. And Anna, we've talked about this before, is just being that connector, being that primary point person. And I do feel that once you get the feedback of how much value they saw in that referral, it just elevates the client referrals back to you so much more. Because we are able to refer, because we take the more holistic approach and we deal with the insurance and the investments, and we make sure they have like wills and trusts in place. We make sure we talk to them about investing properties. When they have that positive experience with someone that you have a strong referral relationship with and come back to you and say, thank you so much, it's totally appropriate at any one of those points that you're helping provide solutions to them to say, I really appreciate your feedback. I think just as I've helped you, I would love to ask you, who are your top 5 people that I can do that same process with? Because they may have different needs and pain points that you don't have, but you see the model of how I've gotten in here and I want to help you. So let's sit down, let's take a look, who are your top 5, and like actually ask them, what's their contact? Can I reach out? I'm going to wait until you give me permission, but I'm going to do that because I want to be an asset for your people as I have been for you. And I think just continuing that valuable referral base will allow for you to have more of those clients coming to you, but also because you're a high value specialist referral, you're going to get a higher value clients. It's going to be at the level where you are or greater, which is really more desirable and really enjoyable.
And I think too, one of the things that is so important is, putting yourself in the spaces as other professionals that are looked at with, that higher regard. I know that I talked to a lot of agents that have spent a lot of time in the industry. Amy Rogers might still be on the call. And we were talking about how it was such a long amount of time for realtors to really become the professional, like the valued, in line with other, professionals. And I think that it's important that your business is aligned with other professionals in other industries, that you have those referral connections, because it elevates your business. But secondly, I mean, most importantly, it elevates that client experience. Absolutely. Because we can turn to other professionals that we know can handle some of those conversations that sometimes are out of our swim lane. And that handoff is so seamless.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think too, like the conversation that we're able to have just based on our company model and how we work with others, we really can connect, like the attorneys and the tax specialists, realtors, definitely just like other insurance agents and bankers and mortgage lenders. And so that continued communication is extremely valuable. And I also think that it's important to, like, we try to meet with our clients at minimum once a year, but typically much more than that, just kind of depending on what their needs are. But every time you sit down, there's new needs that are being brought up, and that allows for more specialization and, referrals to come in. So I think that's a really huge value to setting up these relationships. And, our region is Charlotte to the coast, but we're a national company. So I know there's a lot of different people from different pockets on this call, but we do reach out all throughout the US. So if that's something that would be a desired connection, I'm happy to make it, just because I know that our system is the same, as far as how we approach clients and how we network with other professionals.
Any questions from anybody? Y'all been very quiet today. Now Allison's gone, so I can't even banter with her.
I think people might be a little hungry.
For the East Coast, yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was a big change in our business. I felt like, guys, I feel like everyone is smarter than I am when it comes to money. I just did. I really did. I thought I was the idiot in the room, and that, even working with clients and realtors, if you've been in the business long enough, you definitely start to see this pattern. You think everyone understands what they can do with their money. You think people understand that they have cash out refi, HELOCs, that they have, high yield savings accounts set up, that they understand tax liabilities. Like, you really do. I believed I was the dumbest person in the room. And I kept realizing that I wasn't. And that our clients needed connectivity into someone that would speak to them about just holistic financial health. So just don't ever think you're the dumbest one in the room. If you're cognizant of it, you're probably ahead of most people. And I'm sure Shay can probably validate that. And so this was a really big boost to our business. So if you're not working with someone in that financial sector, this is my recommendation. Find a partner. If you're out of our market, you want to connect with Shay about who else is out there. She's a wealth of knowledge. And I think that this is just one of those little boosts that we gave our business this year. And it's been really fun to partner with you guys and to be able to agents. How many of you are getting cash offer, requests through your fellows, through any of your other software? You don't have anywhere to take it to go. Go work with someone local that has folks that they are, intentionally looking for investment properties or things like that, because those are the connections that I think have made all the difference in a market that's shifting around.
Yeah, and we didn't plan it, but I think it's great that we can take all of these back to our original speakers from the day. And Will made the comment of create that power circle, right? And that's what Anna's talking about, is who is in that power circle. And we want to make sure that we're connecting you with people that, we have worked with personally. And Anna, it seems like you guys have done a lot of work personally. And so hopefully we can all kind of create those power circles together, and this will be our jumping off point. So thank you very much. And Anna, I'm going to take your commentator spot back. And I would like to introduce our next speaker. We have had Dean come on and talk on Agents Empowered. As you guys know, we do every Wednesday a mastermind at 8:30. And it's just all about connecting and collaborating. Dean is wonderful and runs Phone Warriors. It is something that a lot of our agents plug into and have found as a powerful tool to kind of move that needle in their business. It's the time that you can listen to other people script and do cold calls. And so we are just so thankful for Dean to be here, and take it away.
Thank you, Allison. Listen, I mean, this is fantastic. The invite, I'm honored to be here to talk to you guys about what I am severely passionate about. And so look, it's midday right now. I think a lot of us are on like on the East Coast here. I see 32 participants on the Zoom right now. Just to check in, I want to make sure like everyone is actually here. And if you're not here, it's all good. Obviously, you're not going to hear this, but can everyone just put like a reaction in the group chat for me, please? Just something to know, like, okay, who am I talking to? Who are my people right now? Okay. There it is. There it is. Okay. Nice. Okay, good. Good. So we're still here. We're still here. We're not on the camera. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like, no, it's all good. But listen, if there's anything that Allison, that at least your group or any of the groups that we've gotten is energy. Okay, energy's got to be high, because if you want to sell at a high level, it has got to be high energy, high enthusiasm. Do we all agree? Okay.
Absolutely.
This
Let's
is the
do it.
Empower Conference. I mean, hopefully I can empower you guys to see a new way of how to think about prospecting, as opposed to this like, oh, tedious task. I got to prospect today. I got to get on the phones. Oh, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. Listen, I've made millions of dollars prospecting. That is the talk of, like, that's the subject of my talk today. So hopefully I can share with you guys some good tactics and also mindset Jedi tricks to help you guys get into the next level of your prospecting habits, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen if this would allow me to do it. If you guys hear any background noise, my team is prospecting as we speak. That's what we do up here. We have like a ninja-like team. All right. All right, can you guys all see my screen?
We got you,
You guys are
man.
good to go? All right, let's make it happen. So, all right, I'm the co-founder, as Allison and Anna have said, of the Phone Warrior Group. It's a Facebook community. You guys everyone can join it here. You log on to the Facebook community. There's a big Zoom capture page on there. Well, it shows like what we're doing. I have the Phone Warrior Zoom is live as we speak right now to my left. And there's about 20 agents right now all around the country that are prospecting as we speak. So you can hear what people are saying in real time, what's actually working in today's conversations. Okay. And the reason we started the group, really it was Emily, if you guys know Emily Brown from Raleigh. Okay. It was me, Rich Adamski, Emily, and another client of Mike Ferry. Oh, that's who we were training with at the time, Tomas, out in California, Los Angeles. It was just us four. And we were like, hey, let's just open this up to everybody and see if anyone would actually want to do this with us, as opposed to just being just us and, having it there. So we ended up opening it up. We do a YouTube channel as well. If you want to find me on YouTube, that's also where you can get access to interviews. And I almost treat those interviews, guys, like a coaching call. All right. So it's like a coaching call for me, that I'm asking all these different questions, and I'm like, wow, I actually learned something. It's funny because Rich and I, my partner, will actually say, oh, did you learn something? Because I learned something. And now we have information that is not public yet until we obviously edit it and make it happen. So anyway, so that's the Phone Warrior Group. I'm going to tell a bit about my story. So, all right, now, I don't know like where everyone is like in the country, or like where you guys are located. But one thing I will say is, depending upon where you are, some of you might have been exposed to a team. You might be on a team. I don't know. Just with a show of hands, how many people are actually on a team, or a show of like reactions, I guess we're going to say. Who's on a team right now as like an agent, just like on Allison's group, Anna's group, whoever, right? Thank you. Carlos, Kirsten, Melania, perfect. Awesome. All right. So 3 out of the 33 or so that are here. That's okay. I'm sure there's more, but we're just going to keep going here. So I was just like you guys. Laura, thank you. I was just like you guys. All right. I started my career on a team. So I was been in the business now for 14 years here. I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey. If you guys know New Jersey, I'm right across the river. So I have a vertical market, by the way. So we sell condos and multifamilies, and this is like Jersey City, Hoboken, up the coast here. Any of the bridges and tunnels, basically that's like the Jersey side that we service, right? So I was on a team the first 7 years of my career, and I was a buyer's agent. So I was on a team where we were early adopters of Zillow. So before there was Zillow Flex and these massive organizations that were doing all these different things, I was doing a lot of Zillow leads when it was like a fraction of the cost it is today. And it was great. Zillow back then, this is 2012, 13, 14. And then at my peak, I had closed 47 Zillow leads in 1 year in 2016, which for me at that time, don't think that's like, oh, wow, that is great. I work like a dog. All right. That was 7 days a week, multiple appointments in a day, along with listing appointments. It was just crazy, but you got to stretch the rubber band in order for you to grow as a successful sales agent. Then I was about to have my first baby, and I decided, okay, well, dad can't be on a team forever. I wanted to explore my options as a solo agent and just see what it was going to be like. I was scared out of my mind. So if you guys, anyone that's making this transition or trying to think about it, I know it's scary. I've been there. It's, I was making well into the six figures on being on a team. So I was very comfortable. It was a very great career, but I had something else to me that I just wanted to explore and just see what was going to happen, So that's been my last 7 years. So I transitioned to a seller's agent, and then I'm now a team leader with 4 agents that are here, with obviously a downline with EXP and everything like that, that I have multiple agents all around the country now, which is awesome. And I love helping so many other agents that are there. Now, the story really is, there's one bullet point here. You could see that I went from 30 to 80 deals in 1 year. That's 1 year. And the reason that happened, that's revenue from literally I was always between 350 to 500,000 in GCI. I was all within this little pocket. And then I literally in 1 year just exploded. And it wasn't because of COVID. COVID was actually a detriment to our market here, because if you know, ground zero for COVID was where? New York City. And we are direct, mirror image from my market here in New Jersey for being that ground zero, because we're a vertical market, we're a city market. Everyone was saying, no cities. I want to go to suburbs. I want to get the heck out of here. So our market dropped in revenue and in terms of price appreciation, as well as transactions, by 10%. But I was still managed from 2020, 2021 to get that revenue from 500 in 1 year to 1.15. And how I did that, I had, and this is the formula that I created, and this is what I'm doing now to this day. And this is what, if anyone's interested to know what that formula looks like in terms of personnel, staff, and everything, we're going to get right into that. So what was the road like? All right. So it was a lot of mindset work. Okay. A lot of mindset work. Let me just be really clear about this business. You guys are going through this business. You guys are doing your thing. Every single day, are you always like, oh, I love this job. I love what I'm doing all the time? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? I had to have a high degree of discipline for me to get through a lot of those days where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to prospect. I don't want to do anything. Now, when you look at what it takes to make $1 million plus a year in GCI or revenue, whatever you want to call it, okay? And I netted out about 900. So I had very low cost at the time too. So it was a nice, area. But I'm sharing that not to impress anybody, be like, oh, look how much money. It's about the fact that there is, this is not, there's a system behind this. I didn't want to just be like, oh, I'm so well known in my Jersey market. And, there's a lot of agents that have personalities and everything. You can't duplicate that, in my opinion. You either have that or you don't. So I wanted to build a duplicatable system that I can share with other agents, that they can take what I did and do the same thing. And so this is what this is, okay? Here's the structure. So I don't know how many of you guys, with a show of reactions, how many of you have a coach that you pay? Anyone have a coach that they pay? Okay. All right. You're physically, you're taking the money out of your pocket and you're paying to someone that you're either coaching from the outside of your team or on, through another organization. Okay. This is the in order of importance that I figured out for myself that was going to work. So basically, everyone asked me oh, Dean, should I hire an assistant? I'm like, well, how many deals are you doing? What are you doing in terms of money, in terms of revenues? And they want to hire an assistant or an ISA. And I know Tina's about that. I love Tina. You know what I mean? She's like, get an ISA as soon as you can. But here's the reality. Tina also will also tell you, we all have had coaches first, because you have to get your mindset in the right frame of mind. Otherwise, you guys are going to go through this business and it's going to be like, I still need tweaks. Just like if anyone goes to therapy, guys, you need tweaks. You need mindset adjustments every single week, because this business will run you ragged because of how we have to be in order to really do well in this job, right? So the coach was the first thing that you need to get. The second thing is the assistant. Then I would hire the ISA. And now there's a lot to unpack in that little middle part there, coach to assistant, okay? Here's the reality. The why I say that is because from a coach to an assistant, okay, you are working on your skills, because the first form of leverage is our mouth, is our communication. That's the first form of leverage. Don't think that, oh, let me just hire a bunch of agents. Let me just go the multiple ISAs. It doesn't, no. You think Allison, you think Anna, you think Tina, any of these bigger agents that are out there today, you think that like they didn't have good skills? Trust me, they all had great skills, most likely. And then you stack on the leverage over time. But what I realized is that, okay, I have to work on myself first before I can work on the outer version of me and everything. Because otherwise, no one's going to follow you probably either, right? So that was a big lesson that I learned also from my first couple mentors and coaches. And I also understood the value of skills and how to practice. So who role plays here? Allison, okay, yeah. Well, so only Allison, I guess. And that's why she's where she's at. Okay, good. Well, anyway, if anyone else is actually listening and they're actually participating in a role play group, okay, and you are practicing your scripts and dialogues, it is super important to know what questions. Now, people ask me all the time, well, what am I practicing? How do I become skillful in this business? That's questions. You need to master. There are core buyer and seller questions you've got to master. I have a whole thing of my 5 core seller questions. I have about 10 buyer questions. Every agent on the team needs to learn. And a system is you learn your skills by going into writing out your scripts once a day. This is 7 days a week, by the way. This is what I did for 2-3 years, no joke. And I had money on the line if I didn't do it, by the way, okay? I had an accountability partner for. So you write out your scripts once a day, 7 days a week. I think this is like, if you're part-time, I don't know what to do with you, but if you're full-time, this is what you should be doing. You are writing out your scripts, and every single day you're sending voice notes to an accountability partner, your coach, your team leader, whoever else that you have in your network. And you do that 5 times in a row. And then you role play 5 days a week with somebody or multiple people. And you do that consistently month after month after month. I am guaranteeing you will be making at least 100,000 within 6 months. I don't care if you're new. I don't care if you are, you've never had sales experience. I don't care how young you are. It will happen if you do the right things. And then I would get a showing agent, buying agent. So this is the lineage, the path that I have. So coach, assistant, then I got leverage and I hired an ISA, and then I did the showing, buyer's agent, and that is the structure that took me to $1 million. If you notice something here, what's the last thing on this list? Buyer's agent, right? Showing agent. I'm not in leadership. I was never in leadership. I was not like as good as Allison and Anna here. Like they invited me on, thank you so much. But like leadership was never my thing because I was leading myself, but I didn't realize that's a form of leadership, self-leadership. And the only way you can do that is by doing the actual thing. If you are being like Allison and Anna have done this, you know what I mean? So any team leaders that are trying to build out a team and you don't have the structure and you don't have fixed yourself first, it's gonna be very hard to reach multiple 7 figures, in my opinion, by doing it this way. So we talked a little bit about the skills. What are the skills? Role playing and practicing, question-based selling, okay? Does anyone know what actual selling is? The core definition of sales. I don't know if this is a participation type of Zoom or a conference here.
I don't have the answer. If I did, I would pipe in. I'm not shy. So go ahead, bring it on.
Okay. All right. Kristen I saw her little camera just get there. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'll answer. So selling is a series of questions that leads a prospect down a path that they want to go, that you are influencing that decision to get to the end result that they want. That's all sales is. It's all. So it's all about, it's asking the right questions in the right sequence. And then there's nuances on that, right? So like if I ask, hey, where are you planning on moving to, Allison? How soon do you want to be there? What's your motivation behind even selling this house? Why not keep it as a rental or Airbnb? Hey, what's one of the 2 things you're looking for in an agent that you want to hire next? And lastly, what price are you really expecting from the sale? Now, many of you may just go on appointments. You just don't want to pre-qualify. You don't want to talk about any of that stuff. That's not me. I just don't want to waste my time. I'm not into that. Like, oh, let me just go meet them. I'll just, be enthusiastic enough and I'll build so much rapport. That may work. I don't know in the South. I don't know if that's up here. I mean, I'm just not doing it. So that is another way of how to also improve your skills is knowing how to pre-qualify 100%. And so you have to understand where's their financial position at? You know what I mean? But these are questions that, like, I mean, we have a whole playbook in the Dean Clark group and like what we do here. But I'm telling you, man, it is, you need to know what questions to ask, and then you get better over time to know the nuances. And the last thing on here, I'm going to skip down a little bit to the last bullet point. Do you see this ARP? Has anyone heard the term ARP in sales? Yes.
They would if they would have watched your Empowered.
Oh, did I talk about that?
You did.
Nice.
You did.
All right, cool. So I'm a big believer in the ARP. You know, there's the whole thing of like the older school mindset. It's kind of similar, but a little bit different, where they like repeat, approve, ask a question, close type of deal. Well, ARP is acknowledge and have a response, and then pivot. So Allison, tell me you don't want to sell your house right now for what, you know, just say that to me.
Dean, I don't think it's a great time. I don't want to sell my house right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like you just feel like the market's not really going to give you what you need to make sense of the deal, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Are you thinking like in a year or two, or when are you thinking?
I don't know. I maybe in a year when the markets are better.
Right. Okay. So let's fast forward this conversation, Allison. You know, and you're kind enough to engage with me on this call here today. So you want to do it maybe in a year or two. And when you make the decision to actually make that move, where are you planning on moving to?
Michigan.
Okay, done. You see what I just did right there? I acknowledge what she said. She doesn't want to sell right now. I moved with a response down the path, and I pivoted to where they're moving to. She says Michigan. Happens all the time in real life. That's what the ARP is, right? So it's constantly, you acknowledge what they say, you have a response to that, and then you pivot off and you go to another direction to get them off of the, I'm not doing this, I'm not buying what you're saying right now, to something else. He said, Michigan, great, I'm going to lean into that. Where in Michigan? What takes you there? Is it for a job relocation? What is it, family there? You know, how soon would you like to get there? Really, even though I already asked him about the timeline, you still re-ask that question. It's an interesting psychological trick. So prospecting is also practice. I mean, how many people actually prospect here? Well, I know Allison does. I can't see if you just wanna, I want to see reactions.
We've got a few
okay.
watch parties. We've got people raising their hand.
Oh, I
Carlos,
got you.
Tina,
There it
the
is.
Cool group.
All
Yep.
right, cool. So we got some prospectors in the house. What's up? All right, here we go. So when you're practicing, prospecting itself is also practicing. I know people say, oh, don't practice on, you know, your clients or guess what, guys? You and I both know you want to get in the mix, you want to do it. But if you do it in high volume, you have got to get the volume of the reps. This is just like working out. You know, if you guys are working out, you do marathons, you do lifting, I don't care what it is. Okay. This is like, seriously, sales is it is a sport. If you didn't know you were in a sport, you now know you're in a sport. So act like an athlete. And that's why you see so many, you know, like speakers and everyone talk about Kobe Bryant and all, it's because they know it's a sport. This is a sport. You need to get better. And this is muscle memory as an example of that, right? And all the magic does happen between the questions. So once you master the questions, you know exactly what to say, then you get really, really good in the nuance between those questions to transition smooth and you're polished and they get just better and better. And that right there is worth $250,000 easy a year. I don't care what market you're in. I don't care. Because I mean, the majority of the markets now, average price like 500 grand most likely. And so you do that, you know, what that's like 20, not even 15, 20 sales. Anyone can do that, in my opinion. So let's talk about leverage if I still have some time here. So really quick on leverage, you got a full-time coach. Now notice there's a key word here, there's a pattern that has worked for me. This is just my story. Full-time coach, full-time assistant, full-time showing buyer's agent, and a full-time ISA 40 hours a week. So you guys think that I'm, you know, we're working, oh, I'm only working 40 hours a week. I leverage the time based on my skills that I have. So your first form of leverage is skills. There's no doubt. Work on your skills. Get with a group of people like we have in Phone Warriors that are actually doing the thing. But you need to, at some point, you have to reinvest into yourself. And that's when you get multiple hours. You know, Allison, you know, her as an example, right? Or even Anna, you know, you guys realize Allison and Anna are probably working 1,000 hours a week. You're like, what? No way. What do you mean? Well, they are. They are, because they have agents, they have staff, they have other people doing other things but it took them a while to get there, but that's leverage. You're buying hours back. That's what we call buyback time. And that's how you really scale. Otherwise, if I didn't have a full-time assistant, but that's the formula: coach, assistant, showing agent, ISA. You have those things, you will scale to 7 figures. Again, I don't care where you are in the country, that's what's going to happen there. And here's the reality: it sucks. I know it's not going to be fun. It's going to suck sometimes. But if you got to take massive, massive amounts of action, massive, you know, everyone's, you know, I had a guy, and he's not here anymore, that was on the team. And I'll be honest, he was like, I want to be you. Like, really? You really want to be me? Because you want to, okay. And so I gave him, I said, if you want to follow me, he's like, I want to shadow you for a day. I said, okay. He's like, what time should I come in? Like 10, 11 o'clock? I'm like, yeah, right. If anyone wants to shadow me, you're shadowing me at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. So I had him stay at a hotel down the block from me, where I live. He met me at the gym at 5:30. We worked out for an hour. I said, you really want this life? You really want to be a 7-figure earner? This is what you have to do. This is my ethos. This is what I believe in. You want to do this? We were on the phones for 4 hours straight. I stopped, took a break. We had lunch, went back on, did my follow-up. I had 2 presentations that day, and it was just go, 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 go. There is not a minute. All you have as real estate agents, guys, is opportunity. Every minute of your day is opportunity. You're wasting it. I don't even know on what, you know, we have to stop that activity and look at what you're doing. So if anyone has done like the hour by hour, has anyone done like an hour by hour, like check on your day to see what you're actually doing? Okay. And Allison shaking the head. Kristen Holland. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I see you. All right. So if you're taking, that is the best thing you can do, is like look at an hour by hour from the time you wake up. From the time you wake up, let's say when you get in the office, you know how many people I talk to and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I'm like so tired by the time I start processing with you. What are you doing before that? They're working out for like 2-3 hours. I'm like, are you like an athlete? Are you an Olympian? What are you doing? Like, just get your workout in, go do this. But a lot of times we're spending so much time doing other things as opposed to taking massive action on the work that actually matters, which is being on the phone and talking to people. You guys realize who's going to win in this new changing market that we're about to face in the next month or so? You know who's going to win? The person and the agents that talk to more people, talk to the most people. That's it. There's no other way around it.
I think it's talking to the most people. It's tracking, right? You do need to track. We've listened to Tammy. We've listened to Kenny. We've listened to you. What are you doing? How many hours are you showing up? Are the tasks that you're doing actually tasks that make you money? Right.
Yeah.
And one question I had when you were on the slide before that is there's so many opinions around when do you hire? When do you hire as a solo agent? When do you hire when you start a team? Or if you're an agent on a team, when do you hire then? And so, you know, when you read MREA, kind of like the Bible of real estate, it tells you about 36 units. 36 units is when you tend to say, okay, look, this is uncomfortable. I need to hire, and I need to find those $20 an hour tasks, because at the end of the day, if you are bogged down with $20 an hour tasks, the most money you're making is $20 an hour. It's what it boils down to, right? And so where do you feel like your stress points were in your business as you grew, that you felt, how many transactions could you handle before you started hiring people on?
Well, I'll take a different approach and maybe be unpopular by saying this, Allison, but that's a great point. I will say though, if you can afford it, hire an assistant right away.
Well, I don't disagree. We all have different perspectives and opinions, right?
For me, I mean, my average price point for the most part has been about 700,000. That's my average price point here. You know, between 650, 750, kind of, you know, goes back and forth. So I was at 20 deals. I was already maxed out because the people over here, you know, at least in my market, like I could have just put them into an assembly line. I had a lot more attention I have to give these people. And so it just becomes like, for me, it was 20 deals, but really like you know, if you could afford a coach and an assistant, that'd be the first thing. The first 2 things I would do. And then,
well, Dean, I want to throw the little nuance and caveat to that is that I do not disagree with you. The problem is that you cannot be a mediocre agent that then says, oh, look, I've got the money, I'm going to go hire somebody. And you're not pouring your time back into your business. In the beginning, it's that rocket fuel. It's about pushing and gaining as much traction as you can. And if you can afford it, hire so that you can then do the money-making activities so that you can do the things that you need to do to scale your business.
And you know, the one thing, it's funny you say that, because the one thing I will share, when I hired so I have Teddy here, my partner, she's amazing. She's been here for 6 years. and she started with me, and I had moments in my afternoon when I didn't have appointments, and I said to myself, I'm like, should I go home now? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, she took off all this time from me, like doing all these deals, listing coordination, everything. And I was like, should I be working more? Should I prospect more? And I was like exhausted for months. I was like, holy shit, like this is like a lot of work. But if you have big goals and you want to achieve great things, you're going to be exhausted. That's just that is just, it is what it is. So to answer your question, I mean, it just, I would actually take the other argument. Like, yes, I agree with you. Like, you know, become someone and then hire that person. But it's a little vanilla to a certain point to me, because I feel like hire them whenever you want to hire them, because it's going to force you to look at your calendar and be like, holy crap, I have nothing going on. What am I going to do now? I'm going to F off to the beach. I'm going to go do this and do that. Well, guess what? You do that, your business is going to suffer and you can't afford the assist anymore. You see what I'm saying? So it's like this cycle.
Yeah.
You have to keep on producing. So you could do it that way, yes, but I want to be clear about the intention around hiring the assistant or, you know, whatever, like any leverage pieces in your business is that it's going to free you up if you hire the right people. And if you do that with how many deals you're doing, I mean, you know, like you're going to be like, oh, wow, I actually have a lot more time than I thought throughout my day. And now the onus is going to be on you to act. And now you have a decision to make. Am I going to be that next level agent, or am I going to just, you know, F off in the afternoon, do nothing, you know, oh, but then you're going to say, I'm going to spend the time with my kids and do that. Listen, I have 3 kids. I have a family. This wasn't like, it's like, you know, this, I'm like single, like one of these agents here. I have a family too. That was my first team, by the way. Okay. So, you know, it's like, how do I give attention to them and still be a producer? And that's where I realized, like, it's not going to be fun all the time. And that's why I had the last point here, repetitious boredom.
Right.
You have to master, you're going to be bored. You know, you get to a certain level, like, I don't know if that's Blake raising his hand over there, but like, you know, we're on it. He's consistent. He's on the Phone Warrior Zoom all the time. And there's a direct correlation to people that can master that boredom, you know, every single day, prospecting, doing the thing. But when you're talking to 25, 30 people, let's say that you don't know, you've never talked to them before, you have that every single day, 5 days a week, you're going to do at least 25 to 50 deals a year, minimum. I don't care what your skills are. And then you improve that over time. But I think we get into this like, oh, it's so much work. And that's the end of my presentation. But can I just say one last thing before we go?
Yeah.
All right. We have to just clearly clear the air of what makes a great salesperson. Does anyone know that one word? There's one word that makes a great salesperson.
I don't know if it's the right word or not, but fearless is the only one that's coming to my mind.
Okay, close. It's belief.
I was going to say listener, but yeah.
Belief. The lack of belief we have in this industry of themselves being a great agent. Like if I asked Kristen Holland right there, are you the best agent in your marketplace?
I'm director of operations, but yes, I am.
Okay, fine. You see, I don't even know who you know what I mean? But the point is, if your answer is not undoubtedly yes, if I get a deal, I am the best person to handle this transaction, this listing, everything. If that is not 100% like your reaction, you got to work on your belief of knowing what you're doing. And I think that we have a lack of work ethic because we don't have a good belief system in ourselves. So work on that emotional bank account and get that emotional side down.
I love that you asked me that, because we've been telling our agents a lot lately of, you're the best person to serve that client. Like, you're not being salesy. There are so many agents in our industry that do this part-time that don't have their full heart in it or their mind in it. And so knowing that everyone on this call, I'm just looking at a bunch of amazing names. Like, they are all such good agents and smart agents that it's like, you are the best person to navigate a transaction for that client.
Yeah, and you have to believe it. You've got to get very good at making sure that you are preparing yourself on a daily and a weekly basis, knowing your stuff, knowing your numbers, hopping on calls like this and collaborating, and really having that belief in yourself. And the work ethic, I think, is the big key here, is a little bit of grit and plugging in. Dean, we appreciate you so much. If you can throw Phone Warriors or something into the chat box on how people can get onto Phone Warriors, it is every day, correct? Monday through Friday?
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
There's agents
Okay.
that come on there on Saturdays as well. We prospect. I mean, Blake can probably, share that as well. Yeah, and we're going all the time.
Very good. All right. Well, guys, if we have any questions for Dean, feel free to connect. We're going to get you guys connected with Phone Warrior 7 days a week. Our next speaker, we are super excited. I reached out to Tristan. He is one of our counterparts in the Hilton Head market. And I said, look, we are doing this Empowered Conference and we want to connect people with big thinkers and just genuine great agents. And he said, I've got the guy for you. So we are so excited to announce Brandon as our next speaker. Brandon, who are you?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon Greenplay. I am a real estate broker, a short-term rental specialist, and a real estate investor down here in Hilton Head Island. And I appreciate the time today, and I can get my presentation pulled up if you give me 1 second, if that's
Yep,
okay.
you've got the ability to share screen, so you are good to go.
Okay.
Perfect. It's popping up.
All right. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, look at that marketing.
Okay, guys. First and foremost, everybody in this today, I appreciate the time. I know we're all busy people. We've got a lot going on. And my goal is to make this as applicable and as valuable to you with the limited time that we do have. I'm going to talk today about building wealth for yourself and your clients through my specific lens, which is the power of short-term rentals. So if you told me 5 years ago today I'd be speaking on this, I would think you're crazy and have no idea how I got here. But today I am sold over 200 million solo in the first 5 years in my real estate career. I was honored by the National Association of Realtors in 2023 as a 30 under 30 realtor in the nation. I was the youngest in my class. I was a 40 under 40 low country roof producer in 24. I've helped create over $40 million of appreciation and cash flow for my clients. And I own 11 different investment properties, totaling over 14 million in value. So just a little bit on my background. I was born in Pennsylvania, 1996. I'm 28 years old. Grew up playing a lot of competitive golf, graduated high school up there. Went out and actually played college golf at the Little Division II school my freshman year, transferred to Clemson, which was an awesome decision. Was a business management entrepreneurship major. Spent my summers on Hilton Head down here. I was a jet ski tour guide for 2 summers. And then I kind of stumbled into real estate. Jet skis taught me too much of a good thing's a bad thing. And I had an internship for 2 summers and got my real estate license prior to graduating. When I did graduate, I had some options. Nothing great, but I kind of came to the decision to come back to Hilton Head, work with the broker that I interned with. With that being said, I did have misdirection. I was unsure of my career path. I knew I wanted to work for myself. I gained some experience through interning in real estate. I was also advised by some people, don't get into real estate in the low country. It's too saturated, it's boring. I had lack of connections because I didn't grow up there. I didn't have academic excellence. I said to myself, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to give 110% and see what happens. And that's how I kind of found myself stumbling into real estate. I'm sure there's some people listening that have stumbled into some things that they are into today. Something that I connect with a lot of my clients is, I look at myself as trying to be a high achiever. They look at themselves as trying to be high achievers. We all want more, right? We want more time. We want more experiences with our loved ones. We want to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And it feels like there's always more to do, right? There's never enough time in the day. Always clients to talk to, deals to close, hires to make. And why are we doing it at the end of the day? I mean, it's a beautiful hamster wheel, but it is a hamster wheel. And I believe financial freedom is what we are after, but in reality, it leads to time freedom. Right. And, have you ever thought about what it would be like to, actually be making really good money when you're on vacation, when you're sleeping, right? Making your money work for you. And that was some fad of some passive income strategy, talking about the thing that has created more millionaires than any other asset, real estate. So owning real estate creates financial freedom. Financial freedom creates time freedom. Time freedom overcomes that feeling of discontent and wanting more. Something else leading into that that blows my mind. It's time for real estate agents to start buying more real estate. Invest in what you sell. I read a statistic, less than 7% of real estate agents are also real estate investors, which is just crazy to me. We know the market better than anybody else. It's time to, in my opinion, start practicing what we're preaching. So this is a funny story. Right when I first started, my broker was selling 40 or $50 million a year. And there was another guy in the office, Tad, I call him Uncle Tad. And Tad was out doing whatever he wanted. He was racing cars, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, my broker said, hey, Tad's worth way more money than I am. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're selling $40, $50 million a year. He said, Brandon, in 1984, when I tried to sell as much real estate as I could, Tad also started. And in 1984, Tad tried to buy as much real estate as he could. Today, he's out doing what he wants when he wants to do it. So that really stuck with me, the power of buying real estate and owning real estate. Kind of going down my career a little bit. Success doesn't happen overnight. Let's be honest, guys. Consistent effort and work ethic will beat talent almost every single time. Pretty quickly, I realized I had the raw skills to be successful in selling real estate. I didn't lack the fundamentals. I didn't have formal training. And even to this day, I would say I'm pretty unorthodox, but I understand what makes people tick. And then, a big turning point kind of happened in my career. I discovered my real estate and what I mean by that is there are so many different facets of real estate. There are so many different niches. You need to differentiate yourself. Mine is real estate and investment, specifically with short-term rentals. But, once you start to get into your niche, you find what works for you. The momentum snowball starts to roll, and I've never looked back. My clients are high-performing individuals, mostly entrepreneurs, executives, and investors. But they're motivated, they're driven, and I'm passionate about creating opportunities and experiences that enable these high achievers to build wealth, but also enjoy their investment property at the same time, hence vacationing your investment. So I invite everybody out here to think about it. What is your real estate and? How can you differentiate yourself from the pack? How can you get outside the box and make yourself somebody, an agent that people come and find you rather than you're trying to find them? I am doing a little event in 2 weeks where we go a little bit deeper into some short-term rentals, some investment properties, what to look for, how to find them, how to sell more of them. There'll be a QR code at the end for that. So jumping in, so short-term rentals are really kind of where my niche is here on Hilton Head. And I love this quote. You can't vacation in your stocks and bonds. Yes, you can buy a vacation with your stocks and bonds, but they're not paying you while you're going on that vacation. And that's something that I think really is sticky for a lot of people that, an investment property, specifically a short-term rental, gives you the ability to use the lifestyle aspect of it as well. And I also challenge everybody. I know a lot of people in Beaufort in this call, all over the country, and we're all in some sort of lifestyle location, right? Speaking of that, let's go back to 2020, COVID. It changed everything for lifestyle location. If you think about it, people didn't like their job, they quit. They didn't like their spouse, they got divorced. If they didn't like where they lived, they moved. They had the ability now to work virtually for the first time in human history. Nobody knew what was going to happen. I remember we saw more oceanfront houses sell in Hilton Head in spring of 2020. I think it was April, May, than we did in all of 2018 and 2019. And it just trickled down from there. But people were looking for places to get away, get out of the cities, get out of these high-end areas. My clientele and what I focused on, again, my real estate is mostly out of state. I have, everybody's different, but I have no interest in meeting clients that have been going to the same church for 20, 30 years down here that knows 7 or 8 agents. I want the buyer or seller that's in Boston that knows nobody else down here that has $400,000 or $500,000 to put down on a $2 or $3 million house that will, pay them $50,000, $100,000 a year in cash flow and give them the ability to use it. So what I would say is think about your specific avatar, right? What's your real estate and how can you get in front of that avatar? Diving a little bit deeper into the benefits of short-term rentals. So I know you guys have short-term rentals up in Beaufort. I actually think it's a fantastic market up there. It's something I'm looking to get into. But when you're selling short-term rentals, a lot of people are so infatuated with the cash flow. And an analogy I really like to make is the layers of a cake, right? Each layer representing a different benefit of a short-term rental. And when you take one layer, the cash flow, right, it's okay. But when you put all of the benefits together, that's when it gets really good. And that's how, if you're selling a short-term rental, you need to position, in my opinion, these properties. First and foremost, you do have the cash flow on the top. That's the icing on the cake. But the biggest thing that we're going to see, and if you hold real estate investments long-term, is appreciation. People really forget about that. Mortgage pay down. If you have a loan on the property, your tenants are paying down your mortgage, depending on what kind of loan you have. Unbelievable tax benefits, which is something I'm going to talk about later, especially if you're a real estate agent. You hedge inflation, but also the personal use. The memories that my clients make down here in their own beach house with their grandkids and their kids when they come down at their own place is priceless. So kind of laying that out a little bit deeper, here's a property that sold a year or two ago. I just had this old pro forma. So it was an oceanfront house for 3,875, right? There's a rental projection here on the right that says 334. So a lot of people, they're going to run the numbers. They're going to say, what's the cash flow? I ran it at the time and it was 73 grand in cash flow. Okay, that's a good investment. But here's how you want to position it. What about the straight line depreciation, right? 27.5, that's $54,000 right off a year. What about the appreciation? We have an average of 4.5% appreciation per year on Hilton Head. It's about 116 grand a year. Mortgage pay down, how I ran this, about 77,000 once held for 10 years, right? And then those properties rent for about $10,000 a week and sometimes a lot more. And if you're using it 6 weeks out of the year, that's 60 grand of value that you're getting pretty much a free vacation. The best properties only rent 40, 50 weeks a year. So altogether, you know, a lot of agents are selling, okay, if it's an investment property, okay, you're going to return 73,000 a year, whatever. I didn't run the cash flow number on it or the percentage, but the reality of it is it's 381,000, and that's how you want to position these properties. You want to look at the cash flow, but you also want to factor in the depreciation, the appreciation, the mortgage pay down, and the personal use. You guys follow me so far?
Yeah, this is great.
So it's important to run the numbers, and I'll get into running numbers here a little bit more in a bit. I've got a fantastic cash flow pro forma. Shoot me a text message, your name, and just say cash flow pro forma and your email address, and I'll shoot it over to you. Running numbers are important, but again, look at the big picture. Something that I do think that is very important to discuss when we're talking about short-term rentals is the difference between rental management companies and self-managing with Airbnb and VRBO. So here's the reality. If there's any property managers on this call, I apologize in advance. But when you put your property up on a rental management company, in my opinion, rental management company model is a little outdated in the fact that you don't need to be pushing renters to a specific website when you can just utilize Airbnb and VRBO. But the reality with the rental management company is they have two different sets of clientele. You have the guest that their rental management company is trying to make happy, feel like they're having a good deal, making a good deal, and then they want the owner to feel like they're succeeding by getting heads and beds. So what do? They tend to suppress the rental rate by 5 to 10% on top of a 15 to 20% split. So there is a way that I'm going to talk about here in a second that you can actually leverage technology and local relationships to automate the self-managing process and maximize your rental revenue and cut out ultimately the rental management company. Some people, the rental management company is great. They don't want to deal with anything at all. But the reality is if you're using a rental management company, you're leaving 20 to 30% on the table. And sometimes that is a yes or no on if the client is going to buy that property. Food for thought. And just brief tip of the iceberg, leverage that technology and local relationships, maximize the rentals and automate 95% of the process. So you pretty much use a tech stack and some local relationship. There's a dynamic pricing tool. I recommend Price Labs. Automate the occupancy, gives a price every single day to get somebody booked. And for the top dollar possible, Channel Manager, I recommend Hospitable. That automates all of the messaging, syncs all the calendars. I do use AirDNA a little bit as a fact checking tool. But then the big one is a cleaning company that utilizes Resort Cleaning. They automate all of the cleanings. Every time you get something booked, they schedule the cleaning. Automatically, if the reservation is moved, they move the cleaning date. They do all toiletries, linens, turnover, inspection, upload pictures to your portal, charge you a per clean fee that you then pass along to the guest on the front end. And boom, you have officially maximized your rental revenue with your short-term rental. So that's something good. As far as identifying these rentals, right? When I'm helping clients and I'm looking at them myself, the 10% rule is the rule of thumb that I do before I even run a number, or excuse me, run a pro forma. The 10% rule is every $100,000 that you spend, and you're putting 25% down on, it needs to be doing at least 10,000 gross. I'll say that again. Every $100,000 that you spend, 25% down, you need to be doing at least 10% or 10,000 gross. So if you do 100,000 a year, $100,000 property, 25% down, and it does 10,000 a year, that's break even. So if it did 15,000 per year on a $100,000 property, then all of a sudden you're $5,000 of cash flow. Once that checks off, then I'm running numbers. You always want to look at rental histories, right? They're important, but keep in mind, they are normally not maximized. You know, growing areas that are growth, we don't have too much of that on Hilton Head. That is something big too. And looking at the true rental potential with these properties, because again, most of the time they're under rented. We do have a short-term rental shopping list here for Hilton Head specific. Somebody could make it in their marketplace. The biggest driver for rentals on Hilton Head, why do people come here? The beach. Just get to the beach as close as possible. Heads in bed, how many people you can sleep, fixtures and finishes, right? Make it easy for people to almost make a scorecard, check off what they're looking for, but also fact check what is going to return the highest amount. And if you're in a city, it could be downtown. Proximity to the major attraction will always be the biggest generator for revenue. Other tips here real quick, dog friendly will boost your rentals significantly. Minimum stays. For example, you have to do a minimum, in my opinion, 7 days, Saturday to Saturday in the summertime. If you miss one day, you are going to lose $1,500 or $2,000. Wow factors, right? Turf putting green, offering surfboards, that stuff really make it pop. And encouraging self bookings of rentals. At the end of the day, if they direct book with you, I give my people a 10% discount. You can leave a little card in your Airbnb that says reach out, book direct, save 10%. Okay, that's my little spiel with the short-term rentals. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about buying real estate, specifically being an agent, and why people need to start doing it. So if you think about it, investing in real estate allows you to own 100% of an asset with a small percentage down. We call that leverage. You can't do that with a stock. Own 100% of it with a percentage down. And that is the power of buying real estate. So I remember I was also going through the TAD thing that happened right when I got in business. COVID happened, right? And I'll never forget, I sold this property to people, you know, for $700,000. I made, you know, whatever, $15,000 commission on it. 12 months later, they call me back and they say, we want to sell. I go run the comps. It's worth 1.4. We sold it for 1.4. They made 100% of a return in 12 months. My 15,000 all of a sudden didn't look as good as that 700,000. I was like, I need to get in the game. And that really is when I started to buy real estate. My first big buy was a lockout unit in South Forest Beach, bought it for $850. And I'm big on value add, changing the use, right? And I think that's a big proponent to creating value. This was a lockout downstairs, a 1 bed, 1 bath. Upstairs was a 3-2. We blew it all out. We opened it up. We turned it into a 6-4. We put a pool in. So we were in at about 1.25. It refinanced appraisal was $2.7 million. So pulled that cash out, paid ourselves the initial investment, paid ourselves the initial, I think I had a partner on $150,000 on top of it. And then we had an extra $250,000 left over, which I'll get into in a second. But today that property generates about $275,000 a year, spits off $100,000 in cash flow. But that $250,000 that we had left over, you almost want to think about equity in properties as a dam. In the aspect, when you build up and create enough water behind that dam, you can take that water, move it to another dam, and start building equity behind it. And that's exactly what we did. Bought an oceanfront house on the Fusky, the biggest house in the neighborhood, 152 Avenue of Oaks. Zero money out of pocket. We bought it for $1 million. We put $250 down. It's a 6-bedroom. It sleeps 20. This is a little bit more of an equity play because there's a big development group coming in there. Today it's probably worth closer to 1.5. We'll probably sell it, roll it into something else when it hits 2 million. But the important lesson behind that is you really want to spread that equity, in my opinion, because scale is when these real estate investments get good. Even if you buy a $200,000 property that's spitting 10,000 off a year, okay, you think about it that way. 10,000 is not that, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's not life changing. If you have 5 of them, all of a sudden that's 50,000, and that can be a little bit different. So think about the dam and what happens. This is my most recent one. Purchased it for 1.4 up at Sand Dollar. Same thing. It was a lockout downstairs. Upstairs was a 3-2. Made it a 6.5. Bought it for 1.4. Put 600 in it. In my opinion, it's worth 2.5 today. I'm waiting on the appraisal here now. It will do about 300,000 a year. It should be about a net cash flow of about 150,000. So we started buying properties. We started changing the use because I'll get to it here in a bit. It's important, you know, to sell real estate and make money, but I think it's even more important, what do you do with that money that you're making? This was the first workforce commercial conversion project on Hilton Head ever. We just did it as a family. It was an old bank building. We converted it into 48 beds on a long-term lease with Sea Pines. big problems call for big solutions. And long story short with that, again, we changed the use of it. And it is not only something that, is a financial gain, but it is a huge positive impact from a town atmosphere. And I believe there's many more opportunities out there like that. We've got a triplex in Bluffton that we renovated. We've got another property up in Folly Field at 10 Moonshell. Same thing. It was a lockout connecting them, making them one big house. I've got a 1-bedroom in Harbor Town and some other properties. All right, this is a big point I really, really want to make. Accelerated depreciation and cost segregation. If your accountant, and you being a realtor, does not know about accelerated depreciation and cost segregation, it's time to fire them, period. It was something I did recently with my accountant maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm not saying this, to toot my horn, but I've been 7-figure GCI the last 2 years, and I won't pay a single dime in taxes because of accelerated depreciation and cost segregation. And only real estate professionals, either if you're a full-time investor or if you are a full-time realtor, can utilize accelerated depreciation. The study, if you want to write down the company that does them, it's all virtual. It's called Madison Specs. They're about $3,500. You utilize all of your depreciation that first year, but if you buy a property every single year, it's a fantastic way to offset your income. But more importantly, when you use that depreciation, yes, it shows that you make less. So you think you go to the bank, the bank's going to say, you made no money. We can't give you another loan for another property. False. Depreciation is added back to your income. So it's an ultimate loophole to not pay taxes by buying real estate and following Section 179 tax code, but then equally not hurting your purchasing power because it doesn't directly write off everything and show that you make nothing. Accelerated depreciation and cost segregation. Honestly, you could layers of the cake, you could just do cost segregation and it would be worth it for you as a realtor. Trust me, look into Madison Specs, that's the company. It's an absolute game changer. And for agents, we are the only ones that can really utilize it the way to the max ability. A few of my philosophies here. It's a long-term game. Buy and hold. You can only lose money or make money on a real estate investment when you sell it from an equity standpoint. Look long-term. And, even if you bought in the peak of 2008, you're still up 15, 20% today. Value add. I'm somebody that gets their hands dirty. I like to create value. I like to find the highest and best use. Focus on layers of the cake, right? It's not just about the cash flow. It's about the depreciation, the mortgage pay down, the appreciation, all that other good stuff that's associated with owning real estate. Every property you own is a separate business. Run it like a separate business. Put it in an LLC. Make sure that you are, following up, making business decisions just as you would if it was your real estate business. Probably the biggest way to create equity in properties, that bank building 36 South is a fantastic example, is change the use or rezoning. If you can change the property to a higher and better use, you will make money on it. A good example are those lockout units that we bought that were beach houses. Most of those were long-term rentals. They were 2-1s, 1-2. Now they're 5-6 bedrooms. All of a sudden, 2-3 families can come and they have no problem splitting a $20,000 bill a week. So change the use, look at rezoning, and it's all about scale. Focus on scale. And that's something that long-term, your younger self will thank you. This is kind of just a little bit of a framework, make your money on the buy. From an equity standpoint, you can get a good deal and the numbers right out, you make your money on the buy. Create value. From that value you create, leverage that equity and acquire more property. It's not rocket science. Something that I use, and it's my golden rule when I'm buying real estate, when I'm helping clients buy investment real estate, is the principle of substitution. Let me use Hilton Head and the Beach, for example. So when I'm talking about principle of substitution, and why I bought that house that I recently did, the most recent one, was I could not find a property on Hilton Head as close to the beach as that property for less money with as high of an upside as it has, right? So if you're downtown or you have a downtown area and that drives dollars when it comes to a purchase, what property can you get for the least amount of money as close to downtown as possible with the most amount of upside when you're done with the project? If you follow this rule, you will be very successful. And it's an interesting mindset to kind of go through and looking at properties. And it's similar when we price properties. I said this earlier, it doesn't matter how you make your money. All that matters is the money you make, you put into real estate. And I think that's something that a lot of agents are, you know, on the hamster wheel. A lot of money in, a lot of money out, a lot of money. Spend the money where you want to spend it, but make sure you're setting some aside to buy what's really important, and that's real estate. And just a quick recap here, guys. COVID changed everything. The world will never be the same. Beaufort, Hilton Head, all over the country, lifestyle locations are a huge thing. It's time to embrace it. People are coming to our town and spending a lot of money. $1 billion is generated every single year just from tourism. You know, embrace these lifestyle locations. Start selling what you're eventually hopefully going to invest in. And it will make you a better agent. Like when I'm talking with clients that are looking at a $2, $3, $4 million house, when I tell them I have a $14 million portfolio and I have my money where my mouth is and I'm invested with the market with them, all of a sudden my credibility goes up big time. And it will make you a better agent. And also you're going to do well long-term from your real estate investment. Leverage your and to differentiate yourself. Look long-term with your investments and focus on the layer of the cake. And most importantly, buy real estate now. And you better use that accelerated depreciation because it is an absolute game changer. And vacationing your investment, where you live your life, who you live it with is really all that matters. And when it can also become a profitable endeavor, does it get any better? I said I was doing that investment mastery. There's a QR code at the end, and I'll leave you guys with this. Remember I said at the beginning, 5 years ago, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what direction I was going to take. Massive action, I was reading on the last slide, is 100% the key. People overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they completely underestimate what you can accomplish in 5 years. That's a Tony Robbins for you, and it is 100% the truth. So if, you know, you're in a position where you feel discontent, you're not sure, you know, if you're going to continue in real estate, use me as an example. Your life can change, and I'm here to cheer you on, advocate you, guide you. I'm opening myself up to help with availability, whether, you know, you're an investor, a realtor, all that kind of stuff. I'm in your corner and I want to see you succeed. And with that being said, thank you so much. There's a QR code for my event right here if you guys want to attend. And here's my contact information and email below. But that is all I have.
I'm gonna throw that into the chat just so everybody has it. This was wonderful. I'm gonna have to watch it back on like 0.5 and like slow it down and take the notes and do the things. But this can feel kind of like over your head and overwhelming, right? But like you said, I mean, you just start and you make one good buy and you make smart decisions and you keep rolling that in. And I do think that there is a lot of there's a lot to be said for saying that I'm investing, I'm doing this with you, and it helps build that confidence that your clients have in you to know, okay, he's not just trying to sell me something, like he believes in this. And so this was just amazing. I've had people texting me the whole time being like, this guy's so great. Where'd you find him? And I'm like, I mean, you know, we're fine.
And I would say too, even if it's not a short, if you're working with somebody that is not buying an investment property, I would argue that every property is an investment property, right? And take that mindset with it of, hey, are you looking at the long-term appreciation of this? Are you looking at the overall value? And you get some people, of course, they don't care. They're just the emotional buyer, and, you know, maybe you throw it out the window. But I look at every property that, you know, this is a big investment, whether you're doing it for a return. Every property you buy is an investment. And yeah, there was a lot in there. I tried to get through it all.
Oh, no, we appreciate it. So I put madisonspecs.com in there. That's the cost seg company. Guys, there's a lot of cost seg companies out there. They usually range from about $2,500 to $5,500. They take the information, they spit out the stuff that you basically just take to your CPA to then run the reports for you. We also did the Eventbrite link that's in the chat. So make sure you click on that and register. Amber asked, who are you using to finance your Airbnbs?
You can go two different directions. I mean, it depends on your DTI. I try to go conventional. I do have some DSCR loans. I use somebody with East Coast Capital here on the island because they have some unbelievable jumbo arms right now. But I do have some DSCRs. The problem with the DSCRs, and I think it's Blue Point is the one I've used. They have prepayment penalties on there with the DSCR loans. So that's not my favorite thing. If it's something you have to do to get into it, and it's just that great of a buy, you know, it's something that you can do. But I've had some success with Blue Point, and then I use East Coast Capital here on the island.
We've been seeing a lot of DSCR loans. 12 months ago, I think a lot of people were scratching their heads saying, what the heck is that? But it's definitely becoming a thing. So hopefully that answered your question, Amber. And then Tristan reminded us that Brandon will be speaking at Build 24 in Charlotte with Brent Gove and Shelly Johnson on September 11th and September 12th. So if you guys want to connect, there's plenty of ways to connect. So feel free to reach out, and that's his information. And Brandon, we appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the time. And yeah, anybody that wants to reach out and just wants to pick my brain, let me know. And that event will be going a lot in more detail as far as what my brain thinks and how we look at things. So thank you for the time, Allison, and appreciate it. Love what everybody does here, and you're awesome.
Awesome. You're awesome. Thanks so much.
You guys.
Okay, guys, I know it's a long day and we save the best for last. I say that because Michelle is one of those people, and just the way that this whole system works is always so mind-blowing to me. I wouldn't be sitting here on a call with Anna if it weren't for Michelle. We wouldn't all be in the same company and in the same downline. And so kind of our whole ecosystem revolves around who we get into business with. And so Michelle is one of our business partners. She is in our upline. She is amazing. And thank you for being here. So take it away, Michelle. You're muted.
All right, there we go. And I want to say thank you to Allison and Anna, because I would have never danced on a boat down the Nile if it weren't for the two of you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Trying to find a moment to share this. I thought it was going to be when Dean was talking about like, what do you do with your time when you're leveraged? But I don't have a picture of my husband on my desk, but I have a picture of Allison and I on the deck of the boat on the Nile River taking a nap.
See, good stuff. All right. So thank you. So that's like a double entendre there, like how that would not have happened for a lot of reasons. So anyway, so thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job today. And I hope that it's the best for last. I said to my husband, because I'm presenting organic material, and organic material could be, so we're going to find out. Let's see what happens here. So my topic is blow it up, make money, and have peace. And that was Anna Powell's suggestion, because she said, why don't you talk about tearing down the team and what that looks like? So I was like, okay, so I want to be clear. Blow it up doesn't mean like make it big, because it could. And I did do that. I'm 24 years in the business, and selling like just about 200 homes a year for many, many years in a row, and came to EXP in 2018. And for those of you that speak the language, I'm a 6-time icon, and I've got now over 1,800 people in my group. So it did go, things went pretty well over the years in real estate for me. I love what Brandon was saying. I follow your suit, man. I'm doing more and more of that every day. Got some nice properties as a result of making that money as well, and putting that cash where it should be into hard assets. So good advice that we're given there. But so talking about blowing it up, making more money, and having peace. A conversation I had with Anna was that, many people over the years, like myself, have taken the time and energy and effort to build a team, a sales team. And for many years, up until 2018, there was only 4 of us doing transactions. So I was listing about 130 personal properties a year, doing about 110 listings a year, 20 buyers. So about 130 transactions a year personally. And then I had 1 buyer's agent and 2 transaction coordinators. And then I decided to blow it up, metaphorically, as in let's get big and let's grow. And thought, okay, this will be a really great idea. And I really wanted to crack 200 transactions a year. Now, I'm sharing this story with you for a very specific reason. I'm sharing this story with you so that you can hopefully learn from my experience, take away what you will take away, and implement for yourself what is going to be the best business decision to move yourself forward in your career. And what I'm proposing is not going to be like a, blanket statement for everyone, but rather something that you may find upon self-reflection is the best choice for you. Certainly not the easiest choice, but then again, what great things ever come from easy. Right? So, so what the problems I faced in real estate was that as I started to add more and more people to my team, it started off with, I only hired out of need. There were 4 of us doing 190 transactions, and I had 1 buyer's agent and 2 transaction coordinators. So that was hired out of need. It was, I have too many buyers to service, I'm hiring someone. And then it became to a point where I started adding more agents and spending more in overhead and paying for leads. And then it became, well, hey, I can pay for leads. It's not necessarily that I'm hiring out of need. It's I can hire and I can bring on agents because I am in a position where I can afford to buy leads for people. And then this can be a profitable situation. So it was really, the mindset shifted for me from needing to hire because I had more business than I could service to feed the beast and feed the machine and then let it self-perpetuate. And what I realized is the problem in that, and I'm saying this to you now because the market has shifted in many ways for many people, and it will continue to shift, is that created a system where I became dependent on the success of others to keep that machine going. So if anyone has been in that experience before, where you bring on people and you realize you're spending more money, more time, more energy, the profit isn't great, but then here is another one of the problems that it creates for you. Your ego can get in the way of it. Your ego can say, oh, I have a reputation and I am, known in the area for having a great team or for doing great sales volume or for whatever, right? And so this is a problem because the drunk monkey can get inside of your head and wreak havoc, telling you that, there's nothing you can really do to stop this monster that you've created. You just got to let it keep running. And so what ended up happening to me in 2023 was I had a heck of a year. After 23 years in business, I was quite frankly exhausted with the growth and the scale of things that had grown. I went from 4 agents to 15 in 3 years. So it happened, pretty quickly. And it wasn't something that I signed up for, but it was really like what unfolded in front of me. And that was, it started off with the resignation of my office manager. And immediately thereafter was the raising of the right hand of someone who I had considered to be my best friend from age 19 as my buyer's agent, saying that she was no longer going to serve as my buyer's agent. And so with 2 key people gone, really, from that, I then had the decision to make for myself, which was if I really wanted to rebuild or not to rebuild. And hustling harder at the point of exhaustion just wasn't an option for me. And so what that led to was a desire for something different and to create something different. And I just knew for sure I didn't want to do it the way I did it before. That's for sure. And it impacted me in ways that might be familiar to a lot of you. I learned that if I didn't take a pause for myself and take a stand for my business, then I was just going to continue to burn myself into the ground. And I was no longer willing to do that to myself and beating myself up. So my business did go in 2023 from 201 transactions, which, by the way, that math isn't mathing if you're paying attention. 15 agents at 201 transactions and 4 agents at 192 transactions. So it was adding more overhead, but not necessarily gaining more ground with transactions. And so when I took that pause with the 2 of those people leaving and then subsequently more to follow, I found myself in a position of fear. Oh, that thing, fear. It comes alongside ego. Fear says, Michelle, if you cut back significantly and you don't replace these people, you're going to make less money. And the reality was, I didn't want to add more people. I didn't want to go through that again. I didn't want to climb uphill what felt like sand and put myself through it. And so I decided to let it slide backwards and really took a look at the P&L, which I don't know how many of you do, but you should do. Really, really look at it. I'm looking at it much more diligently now than I ever have in my career. and started to cut people that weren't necessary to support the number of people that we're going to be having on the team. So that was having team members step off the team and leave. I had cut some marketing positions. I cut quite deeply and ended the year with half the production of what we did before, 106, just a little over half. But the kicker in that is that I made more money. And so the title of this was Blow It Up, Make More Money and Have Peace. So I'm already talking to you about how it was blown up. It was making some executive decisions when 2 key people left that I wasn't going to replace them. And then making the executive decisions to keep cutting beyond that of what is absolutely necessary to keep this thing going. So really hard, but when you make those decisions, you're going to be more profitable. Don't worry, this sounds stressful. We're going to get to the peace part soon. Hang in there. Stay with me. We're getting there. So it just got to the point when I think about the impact that it had on me was, laying in bed at night, thinking about all the things that I should do. Even when you're cutting people, you should be taking on these roles. You should be offering these things. You should be offering these benefits. You should be offering these leads. You should be offering this training. You should be, right, supporting people in a higher way. But if you don't really have the capacity or the adrenaline anymore to do that, then all you're going to be doing is setting expectations that you're not fulfilling on, and that will continue to drain your energy. So, the hardest part I think about that was identifying, letting go of people, of things, and what was the other one? And my attachments, essentially, to how things were. And so it was really took some time for me to go into the silence. I know, and around I'm really freaking people out. What is she saying? Spend time alone in silence and meditate. Did she just say that? Yeah, we're getting to the peace part here coming soon. I told you that was coming up, but it was really going into the stillness and not talking really to a coach, not talking to a trainer, not talking to a guru, none of that. I'm talking about going within and deciding for myself, what is it that I really want as a result of this? Not what is on the outside looking in, what should be, but rather what's important and a value add to myself. Because being a martyr is when you're creating benefits for others and losses to yourself. And if it's gotten to the point in your business where you're creating opportunities for others and losses to yourself, it's time to have that self-examination and not put a bandage over it, but rather, really do the hard work and ask yourself the hard questions. So creating that space for meditation and canceling obligations is the other thing that I did. Took a look at my calendar and I wiped out a lot. Allison and Anna may have seen, where'd Michelle go? For a little while. I really had to, she went to Egypt. That's where she went. I really had to, that's just true, actually. I really had to carve out some time for myself to simplify and put fun and joy and peace and creativity back into my life. Africa's the answer. Is it always the answer? It says always. Okay. All right.
It's always the answer. For me,
Africa's
it's
the answer.
always the answer.
All right. Okay. All right. Got it. I like that. I'll keep it in mind. But putting that space in my calendar, in my mind, and that energy and enthusiasm back in my heart was really what was needed to be able to think creatively. You can't think creatively if you're living under stress. It's absolutely impossible. I try it. Go to Africa, run away from a lion, and think about what you're going to create next. It's just not going to happen, right? I'm sure you're not thinking creatively about what color paint selections. No, you're not thinking that at all when you're running away from something of stress. It just doesn't work like that. So I've heard many times in my career that you can only have a breakthrough after you have a breakdown. And so you can decide if that breakdown is something that you're going to create for yourself or if it's going to be done to you. There was many, many points where I should have made those executive decisions myself and say, I should have terminated the manager. I should have terminated the buyer's agency that I had with that agent a few years ago. But I settled and tolerated and put up with and thought that this was the right thing to do. And that wasn't really being authentic with myself. And so when you give yourself that space, you can get some really clarity about what makes the most amount of sense in running your business. And so now, after having these hard conversations, I realized a couple tough things. Business relationships are not friendships. I know I'm saying this, not always. They can be, but they are not necessarily one and the same. Business is business and friends are friends. And so that was one line that I had blurred pretty bad from the start. And so that took like radical authenticity with self and integrity with self to make myself the priority in this. And what is it that I really want out of business? And so what has happened as a result of that is as I started to get more peace and started to make more money, then I started to realize that I was afraid of a fake problem. And the fake problem is that if you cut things in half, you're going to end up with half. Sometimes you end up with much more when you cut things in half. Cut your business in half. You cut your overhead in half. You cut your hassle in half. You get more peace. You get more clarity. You cut your overhead. And the one thing that I learned from this, it was like such a lesson. It's the sake of growth. Growth for the sake of growth is the mindset of a cancer cell. So if you are putting yourself through growth just for the sake of growth with not really an end game in mind other than just growth and going bigger, that's really just your ego talking. And so it's really comes down to a decision, which is not the easiest one to make. And many people fall into this trap. I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not, is that it takes the decision to make some bold moves. And those bold moves are having hard conversations with people about what's working and what's not working, and being like completely authentic with yourself and with the other people that are in your ecosystem, even on your team, to say, hey, you know what? I'm really grinding super hard right now, and this is not something that I'm interested in sustaining anymore. This has become an unworkable situation. I actually need to have a conversation with somebody else on my team right now. The situation has become a bit unworkable, and I'm taking a few moments to compose my thoughts and put it together and to present in a proper way. But if you don't give yourself that opening and that option, and you're making assumptions that it's going to go terribly for you, then most likely it'll go terribly. But if you can actually take that pause and think about how you can create a positive outcome as a result of this, then okay, things can go really well for you. And it's detaching from things, ideas, and people, essentially, that your ego so desperately will want to hold on to. And, through the course of this, and I'm realizing here, like, I could talk for a long, long time about this, but through the course of this transformation, it resulted in creating a personal manifesto for myself. And I would encourage every single one of you to do this for yourself, to really think about what your values are, what's important to you, and what it is that you want out of life. Because we're not running businesses just for the sake of running a business. You're running the business because it's going to add value to your life. The people that you surround yourself with, you add value to them. They should be in reciprocity, giving value back to you. I'm glad you're saying that. Thank you, Stephanie. They should be giving value back to you as well as you're giving value to them. The definition of martyr, and I've said it before, is creating loss for yourself and benefits for others. So if it's not a reciprocity relationship in some capacity, and it doesn't need to be, 1 + 1 = 2 in reciprocity, it can be that, I teach this person how to write contracts because they're a new agent. And in return, they put in the work, man. And I love watching them grow. And I get joy from seeing them win. That can be reciprocity, right? But if you're pouring into someone and teaching them all the things about how to win in real estate, and then they're talking crap behind your back and muttering about how bad the leads suck, and, okay, hang on now, that's not called, that is not called reciprocity. Yeah, Anna, you're right. That's cortisol. That's exactly what that is. That's stress. That's exactly what that is. So creating this personal manifesto for myself So many things were learned. And the truth is, I didn't lose a penny. I actually gained. I gained more time. I gained more freedom. I got more money back in my bank account because at the end of the day, we just learned from Brandon, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. At the end of the day, that's what matters most. Is that I was reminded of something that I taught myself a long time ago. And it's that I run my race at my own pace. And then this is super important. My external accomplishments no longer define me. I need to be only pleased with myself. So that is where the ego steps in and says, hang on, wait a second. Amber was top in her market. I'm just looking at names on here. Amber was top in her market and now she's not. Well, guess what? Amber's happier now. So you can like let that go.
I just laughed out loud. I just chuckled.
Let it go. Who cares? Peace, joy, and productivity are my highest values. I honor my body, my mind, and my heart. Those are important things. Give to yourself freaking first. If I showed you my dream board right now, I'd walk down to my workout room to show you. The thing from the airplane, the oxygen mask thing, the image is on there. And that's a reminder to give to yourself first before you go helping other people. Creating boundaries, and you, my dears, are obligated to no one. Keep that in mind. You have a right to rewrite what your commitments are. Put your dreams at the top of the list. Decide upon the things that matter to you in your life. My manifesto, I work because it brings me joy, period. I work with people I appreciate and people who appreciate me. It's both. I trust myself and my instincts. There have been many, many times where I have shrugged it off and said, I'm going to sweep it under the rug, and that was really nothing. Those instincts are super important, and you need to listen to them, even if they're telling you something you do not like. Like, you should have a smaller team. You should go down to 6 people instead of 15. Trust those instincts. You really should. They are really trying to talk to you. Life is happening for me and not to me. So when my office manager walked off and then that buyer's agent walked off, that was something that I had secretly been praying for. I had been praying for less management, less stress, and more money. And this is how it showed up. So be okay with how it shows up in your world. I share my knowledge in abundance with people who appreciate my offering. I'm skilled at identifying those people. They fill me up and they encourage me to continue my work. When I am asked to be on a call with Allison and Anna like this, they inspire me and they lift me up. And even these comments in the chat box, they fire me up. That's what I'm talking about. Face things head on. Ooh, this is tough. Every outcome I desire is on the other side of a conversation. I say that to people all the time, and I just had to really start walking the walk because it's really easy to turn your back on that. I am separate from my business. The decisions I make as a business owner are separate from me as an individual. And often you can link those together pretty easy because business can become part of your identity. And they're not. You can take a stand for what's right in your business and have that be separate from you as a person. My joy comes from within and it is not found outside of me. So if you're not feeling joy, okay, what's going on? Are you seeking outside of yourself? Are you looking for, Carlos here to like say something nice to you to make you feel better today? Does it really need to come from that direction? Yeah. And my peace is found in the present moment. So this one has been tremendously huge. Pain comes from thinking about the past or the unrealized future. And life is not to be experienced in the past or in the future. It's experienced right here, right now. That one was tremendous for me. I have always had a dream. I've been married for, my God, just as long as I've been in real estate, 19 years, but we've been dating for, longer than that. And one of our dreams from our honeymoon was to buy a place in Maui. And I watched Lahaina burn on TV, and we do own 6 weeks there of deeded time. And it gave me heartache and it gave me pain to think about because it felt like the burning down of something that was in my past that I have loved so much. And it also felt like the burning down of my future. And I realized sitting there watching it at the bar, literally at the bar with the TVs behind, and feeling just heartbroken over the whole situation, that if I think about the past and bring up memories that hurt, or if I think about the future and attach a memory to it that hurts, that's not the reality of where I'm living right now. Where was Joy? Joy was sitting right there at that bar with the freaking lobster legs in front of me and that cocktail. So if you just keep that focus on what's right in front of you there at the bar, instead of what's going on in the past or what the future may or may not bring, this will really help you define, okay, what brings you joy? How do you want to serve? What's your business going to look like? And I will tell you, as a result of, blowing up the team and making more money and having peace, I am on the right track right now. We are organically going to be doing way more business than last year. I'll probably end the year this year, 2024, after this rough 2023 at 100 and what are we going to end at? Maybe 160 transactions realistically. My team probably wants me to say more, but I'm going to be honest about it. They have a goal for more, but we'll probably end around 160 transactions. And I'm doing that with 6 people, y'all, 6 people. And some of those agents never sold more than 3 houses before they got on my team. So starting over again, like that song from is going to be rough. But I'm doing it with so much less stress and with some freaking grateful, awesome people and way less overhead. And it just feels so freaking good again. This is what gives me joy and fills my heart. So if that peace and joy is just not in your heart for what you're doing anymore, stop beating yourself up. God don't want that for you. You deserve better. So just take a little moment here and write up your own manifesto and decide what that looks like for yourself and what you know to be true, and build your business around your own truth. That's all I got to say.
I love it. I just texted Anna and Amber actually and said, I am so glad that we kind of put you on the end of this to really take us out, because it's so important to check your mindset. It's so important to remember who you are and why you're doing it. And we are so appreciative for you being on here. It really was a good reminder. I took a lot of notes and it was a little bit more of a Allison, think to yourself, kind of take that quiet time and really reflect on what you want and how you're going to get there. So this was so great. Does anybody have anything for Michelle?
No, just thank you. That was a great way to end it.
Awesome
day.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. That was nice. Good job, ladies.
Thank you.
I love the comments in here. We got Stephanie, reciprocity is missing from many pieces of my business. Yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? Time to get some back. Get around some people who will give you reciprocity.
Yeah.
Right. So think about that. That's a good way to start. That's a great start, Stephanie, actually.
Yeah.
Like, okay, where can you see more of that? Are some of your team members helping other team members? Like, what is it for you? What is that? What would you like to see? What is the definition of reciprocity for you? Amazing day. I bet it was. Yeah, life is short. Life is short. And I'll tell you, this is the other thing I'm finding out right now, sitting here in 2024. My father-in-law is 84 and we're moving him out of the big house and renovating a condo we bought for him. And all this stuff is happening right now. Thank God I don't have more drama in my life to manage with people who were just not the right fit at the right time, because this is really like giving me the capacity to deal with some family stuff that was really overdue and feels good to be doing. And everything that I'm involved in right now feels good to me. Everything, including this right here.
Yeah, Michelle, I've been saying this for a little while that, especially like an event like this, like during COVID and the market was so strong, you could do no wrong. I tell everybody all the time, I built my team in a tailwind. Like I could not screw it up. If I spend too much money, I could fix it the next month. Like I know there was an artificial push that allowed for us to get where we are. But also what I found was in that time, yeah, like things just felt better. They just did. They just felt better. And we already see it. We're talking about, ethics and agent relationships and how collaboration was so easy to achieve during that time period because we all just felt good, And I think that that's one of those things now. You're really going to see the people that want to collaborate. You're really going to see the people that want to show up for each other in this environment because it's not as easy, right? It's hard. Transactions are taking longer. There's more things on our brain. Oh my gosh, for the love of all that's holy, trying to just navigate what forms are we going to use next week? I mean, that was something I didn't see coming this week, right? Thank God you were on our call last week and you prepared.
Thank God my MLS is early.
In my world, but all of those things. But the reality is the ones like all of us on this call today, and Tabitha, I'm so glad you could join. But we coordinating and collaborating and doing these things now, it is kind of you're separating yourself out. So that reciprocity isn't going to be as common as it was because it was just very easy to do, and it's a little bit harder now. So hang on to your people even tighter, love on them even more, share all that oxytocin, serotonin in your worlds, because it makes everyone feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I had this conversation with my team yesterday. I was like, with everything going on with these commissions right now and not, being able to advertise and just, it's like every realtor for themselves. I'm like, when you're talking about like collaboration, that needs to be at the highest level now. I think as a realtor community, we have to really come together. Unfortunately, that's a bit of utopia. I don't really know that every single agent's going to come together all the time. But we really do need to support each other in this, and we really need to work hard to have unity as a realtor community.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, and again, I think we did it all. We all did it very well during COVID because we were a little bit more confined to, hopping on calls. And I feel like a little bit of that's fallen out as we've, gotten further and further away from our golden years, if you want to call them that. And so just a challenge to those of you on here. I mean, just continue to bring community together with agents because I think we need it, way more than we realize.
Yeah.
And we are always here if y'all ever need anything. The easiest way to find us is to plug in every Wednesday morning at 8:30. We might have some special announcements with Michelle coming up come August of some cool collaborative things we're going to start doing. But we really want this to be a resource for you to connect, to feel a sense of community. And we're always here if you need us for anything. So I think this was a great way to wrap it up. If anybody has any questions, we'll leave the chat box open for 3 or 4 more minutes. We just want to thank all of our speakers. I think Brandon's still on. Thank you. I still have people texting me saying, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Michelle, thank you so much. Kenny and Tammy and everybody that just popped on was wonderful. And we are so appreciative.
The best.
Beautiful ladies.
Now I'm gonna go sort through all these new forms and figure out what we're doing.
I just printed ours out.
I had to print mine. Our brains are so weird.
I did that.
I'm printing my stacks.
I already did them. And I started reading through them. And then Courtney was in the office and we said, oh, she's calling me right now. And we said, wait, well, is there an addendum that says how much the buyer's compensation is going to be? And I said, I think this is where collaboration comes in because it's totally negotiable agent to agent, offer to offer. So, my advice is everybody just take a deep breath and realize that nobody really knows what they're doing. And we just need to do it together. We need to navigate this together. And I love that we talk about community as a whole here, where there's not a lot of competition and we're all kumbaya. But your biggest traction is going to be having those relationships with people in your market, the ability to pick up that phone and have a conversation and not have this competition, this animosity towards one another. It's about collaborating and understanding how to get the deal done. And we're all going to be okay. It's all going to be fine.
And remember the word we're using now, and we're not using commission, we're using fee and we're using concession.
Concession. I have to get my verb, I need to put it on a thing. Concession.
All right, ladies.
So many words.
Thank you, Michelle.
Everyone, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you guys back here next week at our regular time, 8:30. If you're in a market that you feel like a conference would be something you want to do or a small mastermind, keep us posted. We always love to have reasons to get together in person and collaborate.
Anna and I always love a reason to get on a train.
Any reason to travel.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Sad.
Bye.
Bye.